Aspiring fashion designer Caitlyn lands the opportunity of a lifetime when she is hired to design a gown for Socialite, Isabelle's exclusive New Year's Eve party. But when she meets Jeff, a charming and down-to-earth man who helps her navigate the high society world, she soon discovers he is actually Prince Geoffrey, Isabelle's intended fiancé. As sparks fly between them, Caitlyn must decide if she's willing to risk everything for love, while Jeff struggles between duty and his heart. Act 1. Caitlyn's dream. Caitlyn Harper, a passionate and ambitious fashion designer in her late 20s, spends her days working tirelessly at Belle Boutique, a small but charming dress shop in the heart of the city. She's known for her impeccable attention to detail and her ability to transform simple fabrics into breathtaking pieces. Despite her talent, she struggles to gain recognition in the competitive fashion industry. Every morning, she arrives at the boutique early, sketching new designs in her worn-out notebook before her shift begins. She dreams of one day launching her own fashion line, Harper Designs, but with bills piling up and no major clients to support her, the dream seems just out of reach. Her best friend and co-worker, Haley, often encourages her to take bigger risks, but Caitlyn hesitates. The last time she tried submitting her designs to an exclusive fashion house, she was met with rejection. "Maybe I'm just meant to fix zippers and altar gowns," Caitlyn jokes, though there's a hint of sadness in her voice. Despite her doubts, she finds joy in designing custom pieces for local clients. One day, while working on a wedding dress alteration, she receives an unexpected call from an assistant to Isabelle Monroe, one of the city's most influential socialites. Isabelle is hosting the most anticipated New Year's Eve gala of the season and is in need of a unique, show-stopping gown. The opportunity is both thrilling and terrifying. Caitlyn knows that designing for someone of Isabelle's status could either launch her career or destroy it before it even begins. Haley, practically buzzing with excitement, insists that this is Caitlyn's big break. "You've wanted this forever, Kate. This is your moment." Nervous but determined, Caitlyn takes a deep breath, gathers her sketches, and heads to Isabelle's estate, completely unaware that this opportunity will not only change her career, but her heart as well. Haley Carter, Caitlyn's best friend and co-worker, has always been her biggest cheerleader. Bubbly, outspoken, and fiercely loyal, Haley refuses to let Caitlyn settle for less than what she deserves. While Caitlyn focuses on her daily routine at Belle Boutique, carefully pinning fabric and making alterations, Haley keeps pushing her towards something greater. One afternoon, as Caitlyn works on a client's dress, Haley plops down beside her, arms crossed in frustration. "You're way too talented to be stuck fixing seams and hemming wedding gowns for people who don't even appreciate real fashion." Caitlyn chuckles, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Someone has to keep the city well dressed. Besides, I like what I do." Haley rolls her eyes. "Liking what you do isn't the same as going after what you want. When was the last time you sent your designs to a real fashion house?" Caitlyn hesitates, her pencil pausing over her sketch pad. "You know how that went last time," she mutters. "Rejected. Again." Haley groans. "Kate, you can't let one rejection, or 10, define you. Every great designer got told no before someone said yes. You have a gift, and the world needs to see it." Caitlyn sighs, flipping through her designs, her fingers tracing over the intricate details of her sketches. I don't know, Haley. Breaking into the industry isn't as easy as it looks. Haley leans in, eyes gleaming. Then make them notice you. Step out of this little shop and put yourself out there. Take risks. Say yes to something crazy. Who knows? Maybe an opportunity will come when you least expect it. Little does Caitlyn know, Haley's words will soon prove prophetic, because within hours, her life is about to change with a single phone call. It's just another ordinary afternoon at Belle Boutique when Caitlyn receives a call that will change everything. She's in the middle of adjusting a client's evening gown when Haley, eyes wide with excitement, rushes over, nearly knocking over a mannequin. "You're not going to believe this," Haley says, practically vibrating with energy. "Isabelle Monroe's assistant just called. The Isabelle Monroe. She wants to see you. Like, now." Caitlyn blinks. Isabelle Monroe? As in the billionaire socialite? The New Year's Eve party queen? The one and only. Haley grins. Apparently, she needs a designer to create a one-of-a-kind gown for her grand New Year's Eve party. And guess who she's interested in? Caitlyn's heart pounds. There must be some mistake. Why would she pick me? Haley waves her hands. Who cares? This is your shot. Say yes before she changes her mind. Still stunned, Caitlyn hesitates for only a second before grabbing her sketch pad and rushing out the door. Meeting Isabelle Monroe. Arriving at Isabelle's luxurious estate, Caitlyn feels completely out of place. The grand foyer is adorned with glittering chandeliers, priceless artwork, and plush furniture that screams wealth and power. Before she can gather her thoughts, Isabelle Monroe glides into the room, a picture of elegance and confidence. "I don't usually work with unknown designers," Isabelle says, eyeing Caitlyn up and down. "But I happened to see one of your dresses at the charity gala last month, and it intrigued me." Caitlyn straightens her shoulders, determined to prove herself. "I'd be honored to design something for you." "Do you have a specific vision in mind?" Isabelle smirks. "I need something unforgettable. All eyes will be on me that night, and I intend to make an entrance." Caitlyn flips open her sketchbook, her hands moving instinctively as she starts drawing. With each stroke of her pencil, a gown takes shape, elegant yet daring, a mix of classic sophistication with a modern twist. As Isabelle watches, her interest peaks. "I like it," she says finally. "You might just be what I need after all." Caitlyn barely contains her excitement. This is it, her big break. If she can pull this off, she'll finally have a chance to step out of the boutique and into the world of high fashion. Little does she know, designing the gown will be the easy part. Because what she doesn't see coming is Jeff, and the way he's about to turn her world upside down. Act 2. Meeting Jeff, Caitlyn races up the grand steps of Isabelle Monroe's estate, her arms overflowing with fabric swatches, a measuring tape draped around her neck, and her sketchbook clutched tightly to her chest. The sheer size of the mansion is intimidating, but she's too focused on making a good impression to let herself feel overwhelmed. "Breathe, Caitlyn. You've got this," she mutters under her breath as she pushes open the heavy front door, stepping into the opulent marble-floored foyer. In her rush, she doesn't notice the tall figure rounding the corner at the same time. Smack. Caitlyn collides headfirst into a solid chest, sending her sketchbook and fabric samples flying. She stumbles back, completely flustered. "Oh no, I'm so sorry, I didn't..." "Whoa, Easy there. A deep, amused voice interrupts her apology as strong hands steady her. She looks up and finds herself staring into the warm, ocean blue eyes of a devastatingly handsome man. Dressed in an effortlessly elegant button-down and a tailored jacket, he radiates charm with an easygoing smile. "Are you okay?" he asks, crouching down to help her gather the scattered sketches. He picks up one of her designs, a sleek, breathtaking ball gown with intricate details. He studies it for a moment, clearly impressed. "These are incredible," he says, handing the sketch back to her. Caitlyn, still recovering from the sudden collision and from the fact that he smells unfairly good, quickly collects the rest of her papers. Thanks. I'm Caitlyn, by the way, here for Isabelle's fitting." His lips curve into a small smirk. "Jeff, nice to meet you, Caitlyn." Before she can respond, Isabelle's voice cuts through the moment. "Oh, there you are, darling." She strides in gracefully, her eyes flicking between Caitlyn and Jeff with mild curiosity. "I see you've met Jeffrey." Caitlyn blinks. "Wait, Jeffrey?" Jeff's expression shifts slightly, as if bracing for the inevitable. Isabelle sighs dramatically, linking her arm through his. "Yes, Prince Jeffrey. You know, the one every socialite dreams of dancing with at midnight?" Caitlyn's stomach does a flip. "A prince?" She just literally crashed into royalty. Jeff shoots her a sheepish but amused glance, as if to say, "Surprise." Caitlyn, completely thrown, can only manage a stunned, "Oh." And just like that, her simple design job just became a whole lot more complicated. Caitlyn stares at Jeff, still processing the fact that she just bumped into an actual prince. He watches her reaction with an amused glint in his eyes, clearly enjoying her stunned silence. "You're awfully calm for someone who just ran into royalty," Jeff teases, handing her one last sketch that had fluttered to the floor. Caitlyn regains her composure, tucking the sketch into her folder. She tilts her head, eyes narrowing slightly. "Well, Your Highness," she says, emphasizing the title with a smirk. "If you didn't want to be run into, maybe you shouldn't sneak up on innocent designers." Jeff chuckles. "Sneak up? I was just walking. You, on the other hand, were moving like you were being chased." "I was not..." Caitlyn starts, but stops when she sees his knowing expression. With a dramatic sigh, she admits, "Okay, maybe I was rushing a little." "A little?" He raises an eyebrow. "I've seen Olympic sprinters move slower." Caitlyn bites back a laugh. "Fine. I was trying to get to Isabelle's fitting on time. Didn't realize I'd be bowling over princes along the way." "Well, you have impressive aim," Jeff says, flashing a grin. "Not every day someone literally knocks me off my feet." Caitlyn crosses her arms. Glad to be the exception. Isabelle, who has been watching the exchange with an arched brow, finally cuts in. All right, enough flirting. Jeffrey, don't you have somewhere else to be?" Jeff shrugs. "Not particularly." Isabelle sighs dramatically. "Well, go find something important to do. Caitlyn and I have a gown to create." Jeff turns back to Caitlyn, giving her an exaggeratedly solemn look. "I guess this is goodbye. For now." Caitlyn rolls her eyes but can't help the small smile tugging at her lips. "I think I'll survive." As Jeff strolls away, he glances back over his shoulder. "Be careful, Caitlyn. You never know when we might bump into each other again." Caitlyn shakes her head with a laugh, knowing full well that something about this prince is already making her life far more interesting than she expected. Caitlyn brushes off the encounter, assuming Jeff is just another wealthy guest of Isabelle's. After all, the estate is crawling with high society elites who probably live in penthouses and vacation on private islands. "Thanks for helping me," she says, adjusting the strap of her bag. "You didn't have to, but I appreciate it." Jeff tilts his head, clearly amused. "Happy to help. Not every day I get the chance to rescue a talented designer from total disaster." Caitlyn smirks. "Total disaster is a little dramatic, don't you think?" He shrugs. "Maybe. But I take my hero moments where I can get them." She chuckles, shaking her head. "Well, I should get going. Isabelle's waiting, and something tells me she's not the patient type." Jeff grins. "That's a very accurate observation." Caitlyn studies him for a beat, still unaware of his royal status. His outfit is effortlessly sophisticated, but he doesn't carry himself like the typical rich socialites she's encountered. He seems normal, approachable even. "So," she says, curiosity getting the best of her, "are you a guest here, or—" "Something like that," Jeff replies vaguely, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Caitlyn assumes he's just another one of Isabelle's wealthy acquaintances, maybe a businessman, an investor, or one of those low-key rich guys who hates flashy introductions. "Well, enjoy the party prep, or whatever it is you're doing here," she says playfully, offering a small wave before turning toward the fitting room. Jeff watches her go, a smirk playing on his lips. "Oh, I will." Little does Caitlyn know, she just walked away from the future king of Landford. And she won't realize it until it's far too late to pretend she isn't intrigued by him. Act 3. A hidden identity. Later that evening, Caitlyn stands in Isabelle's lavish fitting room, adjusting the fabric of the gown she's designing. The room is grand, chandeliers glistening, floor-length mirrors reflecting every angle, and racks of couture dresses lining the walls. Isabelle, lounging in a velvet chair as an assistant, refills her champagne glass, eyes Caitlyn's work with curiosity. "So tell me, what do you think of Jeff?" Caitlyn, distracted as she pins the hem of the dress, shrugs. "He seems nice." Isabelle smirks. "Nice? That's all." Caitlyn glances up, confused by her teasing tone. "What? Should I have some stronger opinion on him?" Isabelle lets out a light laugh and takes a sip of her drink. "Well, most people do. I suppose you really don't know, do you?" Caitlyn straightens. "Know what?" Isabelle studies her for a moment, then gestures dramatically. "Geoffrey, my dear, is Prince Geoffrey of Edgemoor, heir to the throne, future king, and as of now, my prospective fiancé." Caitlyn freezes. "Wait, what?" Isabelle sighs, as if she's had to explain this one too many times. "Our families have been in talks for years. It's all very traditional, though Jeff doesn't seem particularly thrilled about it. But we'll see." Caitlyn's mind reels. Jeff, the charming, down-to-earth guy she literally crashed into, is a prince and Isabelle's fiancé. She tries to hide her shock. "So, it's an arranged thing." "Not arranged exactly," Isabelle says, examining her manicured nails. "More like strongly encouraged." She gives Caitlyn a knowing glance. "He's quite the catch, isn't he?" Caitlyn's heart sinks a little, though she's not sure why. Maybe because, for a brief moment, she thought she'd met someone refreshingly normal in this world of extravagant wealth and titles. She quickly regains her composure, forcing a polite smile. "Well, congratulations, I guess." Isabelle waves a hand. "Oh, don't be so formal. Nothing's official. Besides, Jeff is a bit of a wild card. Caitlyn tries to brush it off, focusing back on her work. But deep down, a strange feeling lingers. Because now, every playful moment, every lingering glance with Jeff suddenly feels complicated. And she really doesn't do complicated. Caitlyn takes a slow breath, schooling her expression into something neutral. Professional. Stay professional. Oh, she says simply, carefully adjusting a seam on the gown. That's unexpected. Isabelle watches her with amusement. You look surprised. Caitlyn forces a polite smile. Well, it's not every day you find out the guy who helped you pick up your sketches is actually royalty. Isabelle chuckles. Yes, Jeff has a habit of blending in when he wants to. He enjoys pretending he's just another guest, another guy in the crowd. She leans in slightly, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret. But make no mistake, he's a prince through and through. Caitlyn nods, keeping her face unreadable. She focuses on pinning the fabric, but her mind races. Jeff never mentioned anything. He let me believe he was just normal. Not that it matters, Caitlyn adds, straightening up. I'm here for your gown, not to discuss the royal family. Isabelle raises a brow, clearly entertained. I admire your focus, but be honest, if you had known, would you have spoken to him the same way? Caitlyn hesitates for just a second. Would she? Jeff had been so easy to talk to. Charming, playful, completely unpretentious. But if she had known he was a prince, she probably would have been more careful, more guarded. Maybe she wouldn't have teased him so much or brushed off his charm so easily. She meets Isabelle's gaze and gives a casual shrug. I'd like to think so. Isabelle smirks knowingly, but doesn't press further. Well, either way, I'm sure you'll be seeing more of him. He is attending the party, after all. Caitlyn nods, keeping her expression neutral. Inside, however, she knows things just got way more complicated. She is determined to stay professional. But a tiny part of her can't help but wonder, what exactly does Prince Geoffrey think of her? Act 4, The Royal Dilemma. Jeff leans against the balcony railing, overlooking the glittering city below. The grand estate is alive with the buzz of party preparations. Staff moving in synchronized chaos. Decorators hanging the last of the shimmering lights. Yet, despite the opulence surrounding him, he feels restless. Inside, expectations await. Conversations about duty, the kingdom, and his future with Isabelle. But out here, away from the obligations of royalty, Jeff feels a rare sense of freedom. That's when he spots Caitlyn. She's standing by a large window, deep in concentration as she examines a delicate swatch of fabric. Her brow furrows slightly, lips pursed in thought. Unlike the people he's grown up around, those obsessed with status and legacy, she's completely immersed in her craft, in something real. Intrigued, he makes his way over. Do you always look this serious when you work? He teases. Caitlyn startles slightly before glancing up at him. Only when I'm trying to make sure a certain socialite doesn't hate her dress. Jeff chuckles. That sounds like an impossible task. She sighs dramatically. Tell me about it. Then, after a beat, she adds, but I like the challenge. There it is, that spark in her voice, that quiet determination he's grown to admire. See, that's what I like about you, Jeff muses. You actually care about what you do. Caitlyn raises an eyebrow. And you don't? Jeff hesitates. He wants to care about his royal duties, about the kingdom, the traditions, the responsibilities. But sometimes It feels like he's playing a role written for him before he even had a say in the matter. I don't know, he admits. It's complicated. Caitlyn studies him for a moment before nodding. Well, for what it's worth, I think people should get to choose their own path. Whether it's fashion, politics, or ruling a kingdom. Jeff smirks. So you think I should rebel? She shrugs playfully. I think you should be happy. Something about her words lingers. Jeff realizes that, for the first time in a long time, he actually feels like himself around someone. No titles, no expectations, just Jeff. And that's a feeling he's not ready to let go of. The night of the party arrives, and the grand estate is transformed into an opulent wonderland. Glittering chandeliers hang from the ceiling, and the smell of champagne and fresh flowers fills the air. Guests in exquisite evening attire swirl around the ballroom, chatting and laughing beneath a canopy of twinkling lights. Caitlyn, nervous but excited, is making her final adjustments to Isabelle's gown in a quiet corner of the room. She's worked tirelessly on this creation, and it's become more than just a dress. It's a symbol of everything she's trying to achieve. Isabelle, on the other hand, is absolutely radiant as she floats around the room, greeting guests with practiced charm. Her gown is stunning, of course, elegant, bold, and perfectly tailored to her social status. But she's not focused on her own look for long. Caitlyn, Isabelle calls out, her voice carrying across the room. Are you ready? The gown is going to be the highlight of the evening, you know. Caitlyn turns, offering a smile as she glances at the gown one last time. I think it's ready. Isabelle steps closer, giving the gown a once-over. Her eyes gleam with approval. It's perfect, Caitlyn. I can already imagine all the cameras on me, all the whispers about how stunning I look, and how everyone will be dying to know who made it. This is going to make your career. She pauses and looks Caitlyn over with a knowing smile. If the gown lives up to expectations, of course. Caitlyn nods, trying to keep the nerves at bay. It will. I'm confident it will. Isabelle grins and places a hand on Caitlyn's shoulder. You should be. This dress will be the centerpiece of the evening. It'll put you on the map, Caitlyn. Trust me. Despite the weight of her words, Caitlyn can't shake the feeling that Isabelle's excitement is more about herself than the dress. It's typical of someone like Isabelle, always at the center of attention, always the focus of any event. Caitlyn suppresses a sigh. This dress might be the centerpiece tonight, but how long will it last before people forget the designer and remember only the socialite? As she's lost in her thoughts, she feels a presence behind her. Turning, she finds Jeff standing nearby, leaning against the wall with a subtle, almost wistful smile. He gives her a small nod of acknowledgement. Isabelle, oblivious to the unspoken connection between them, glances back and forth between Caitlyn and Jeff. Jeff, darling, come. Take a look at the masterpiece Caitlyn's created for me. She motions toward the gown with an exaggerated flourish. It's going to be the talk of the evening. Jeff smiles politely, his eyes glinting with amusement. I'm sure it will be, he says, though Caitlyn can see a flicker of something else in his gaze. Something more thoughtful, more focused on her than Isabelle's usual attention-seeking monologues. Isabelle, completely unaware of the subtle tension in the air, turns to the crowd, excitedly beckoning them toward the gown. It's the highlight of the night, after all, a true masterpiece. As the guests begin to gather around, Caitlyn feels the weight of the night pressing down on her. The dress, yes, but also the realization that Isabelle's spotlight will never truly be shared. And no matter how much attention the gown receives, it may always be overshadowed by Isabelle's self-assured presence. Yet, as Caitlyn looks at Jeff, there's a small part of her that hopes, just for tonight, she might be the one who gets to shine. Caitlyn stands before the full-length mirror, adjusting the final details of Isabelle's gown, smoothing a wrinkle here, tweaking a pleat there. She's done this 1,000 times before, but tonight, everything feels different. Every brush of her fingers against the fabric seems to draw her attention away from the task at hand. It's him. Jeff's presence lingers in the background, like an invisible pull that distracts her despite her best efforts. Every now and then, she can feel his gaze on her, a subtle weight that makes her heart race faster than it should. She tries to concentrate, bending to inspect the hem of the gown, but from the corner of her eye, she catches sight of him talking with one of the other guests. His easy smile, the way his eyes light up when he laughs. There's something magnetic about him. She quickly turns back to her work, shaking her head as if trying to dispel the thoughts. Focus, Caitlyn. Just finish the dress. But it's no use. Every time she lifts her gaze, there he is again, leaning casually against the doorframe, a glass of champagne in hand, chatting with a small group of well-dressed attendees. His presence seems to command the space, even though he isn't trying to draw attention to himself. His natural charm, his effortless grace, it's all so distracting. She swallows hard and adjusts the neckline, forcing herself to ignore the fluttering feeling in her chest. She's a professional. She's here to work. And yet, as Isabelle continues to greet guests and socialize, Jeff slowly makes his way toward her, his strides measured but relaxed, his eyes never leaving her. Need any help? Jeff's voice breaks through her focus, warm and inviting. He's standing just a few feet away, watching her work with a mixture of admiration and curiosity. Caitlyn feels her heart skip a beat as she looks up at him. I'm fine, just finishing up, she says, her voice more breathless than she intends, she immediately regretting sounding so distracted. He smiles, his eyes twinkling with mischief. You've been working all night. You should take a break. I'm fine, she repeats, though she knows she's lying. It's hard to focus on anything when he's so close. Jeff leans in slightly, his voice softening as if sharing a secret. I don't bite, you know. Caitlyn laughs nervously, trying to keep her composure. I know, but I've got a lot to do. For a moment, Jeff doesn't move, and their eyes meet in a silent exchange. It's as if, in that brief glance, he's trying to understand what's going on in her mind. There's an intensity in his gaze, a depth that she hadn't noticed before, and it makes her feel both seen and exposed at the same time. She looks away quickly, clearing her throat. I should really get this finished before Isabelle makes a scene about the dress being late. Jeff shrugs. Isabelle can handle herself. He gestures to the crowd. The real party's out there, but I have a feeling you might be the one missing the fun. The playful teasing in his tone catches her off guard. It's easy to forget that he's royalty when he's standing in front of her like this. So casual, so unpretentious. I'll get to the fun, she says, trying to shake off the distraction. Once this is perfect. But it's hard to ignore the fact that her heartbeat is racing, that every word exchanged with him leaves her a little more off balance than before. As Jeff lingers near her, Caitlyn finds herself torn between finishing her work and the growing pull she feels whenever he's near. She doesn't know why, but it's impossible to ignore that the more she tries to focus, the more he becomes the only thing she can think about. Act 5. An unlikely friendship. As the days leading up to the party pass, Jeff finds himself lingering near the boutique where Caitlyn is finishing the final touches on Isabelle's gown. He tells himself it's just a casual stop to check in on the progress of the dress. But in truth, it's a reason to spend time with her, to see her focused, to watch the way her hands move so gracefully over the fabric as she brings her designs to life. Every fitting seems to be an excuse for him to linger a little longer, to talk a little more. There's a natural flow to their conversations, a connection that feels effortless. Sometimes they talk about fashion. He's fascinated by the intricacies of the design process, the way Caitlyn pours so much of herself into each piece. Other times, they discuss completely unrelated things, books they've read, the music they listen to, or the absurdities of high society. Caitlyn's wit and candidness have become a refreshing escape for him from the formalities of his royal life. On one such occasion, as Caitlyn adjusts the hem of Isabelle's gown, Jeff watches her with quiet admiration. He's noticed how tirelessly she works, how meticulous she is about every detail, how her eyes light up when she speaks about her craft. "You know," he says casually, leaning against the counter, "I never realized how much thought goes into making a dress." Caitlyn glances over her shoulder, a small smile tugging at her lips. People think it's all about fabric and stitching, but it's so much more than that. It's about bringing someone's vision to life, making them feel confident. Beautiful. "I can see that," Jeff responds thoughtfully. "You make it look effortless." Caitlyn laughs, though it's more to herself than to him. Effortless? Try hours of hand stitching and countless fittings. But yes, I suppose in the end, it does look effortless. They share a smile, the kind that lingers a little longer than it should. But Caitlyn quickly shifts her focus back to the gown, her hands trembling slightly as she works. Jeff, sensing the moment is slipping away, decides to push the conversation further. "You've really found your calling, haven't you?" She pauses, her eyes flickering with uncertainty. "I guess I have, but that doesn't mean it's easy. I'm not exactly at the top of the fashion world. I have a lot to prove." Jeff steps closer, his voice low but sincere. "From where I'm standing, you've already proven a lot. I admire how dedicated you are." Caitlyn looks at him, taken aback by his words. She's not used to such direct admiration, especially not from someone like him. "Thanks. I appreciate that." There's a brief silence, filled only by the soft hum of the boutique's lights. Then, with a gentle chuckle, Jeff adds, "You know, if I were half as good at anything as you are with your designs, I'd be unstoppable." Caitlyn raises an eyebrow. That's rich, coming from someone who's practically royalty. Jeff shrugs nonchalantly, though there's a hint of vulnerability in his eyes. "Doesn't mean I've got it all figured out. Being good at something doesn't always come with a sense of purpose." Caitlyn is momentarily struck by his honesty. There's something deeply real about him in these moments, away from the public eye, away from the expectations placed on him. For once, he isn't the prince. He's just Jeff, someone who feels as lost as she sometimes does. The door chimes, signaling another guest arriving for a fitting. Caitlyn turns back to the gown, unwilling to let the moment slip too far. But as she does, she feels a warmth in her chest, a pull toward Jeff that's impossible to ignore. The evening air in the boutique is cool, and Caitlyn is running the last few fittings on Isabelle's gown. The bustle of the party is still a few hours away, but Caitlyn can already sense the tension mounting. She's excited for the event, but more than that, she's increasingly aware of the magnetic pull she feels every time Jeff walks into the room. As she adjusts the bodice one last time, her phone buzzes and she glances at the message from Haley. "Can we talk?" Caitlyn frowns. She hasn't seen Haley all day, and she knows her best friend has been growing concerned about how often Caitlyn's been spending time with Jeff. Sighing, she taps out a quick reply. Of course, when? The next thing she knows, Haley is walking through the door of the boutique, her arms crossed, her expression serious. "Haley," Caitlyn greets her, trying to smile, though the tightness in her chest betrays her. "What's up?" Haley doesn't waste time. She takes one look at Caitlyn, her eyes narrowing with concern, before speaking. "I need to tell you something. Something you already know deep down, but you're not really listening to." Caitlyn tilts her head, her nerves kicking in. "Okay, what is it?" Haley paces in front of the mirror, her voice dropping to a lower, more urgent tone. "I see the way you're looking at him, Kate. I see the way he looks at you. But you have to be careful." Caitlyn's stomach tightens. She crosses her arms over her chest, defensive. "I'm just working, Haley. He's helping with the fittings, that's all." Haley stops in front of her, her gaze intense. "It's more than that, and you know it. Kate, this is dangerous. He's Prince Geoffrey, heir to the throne. His life is mapped out for him. He's already promised to Isabelle. Do you really think this is going to end well?" Caitlyn's heart skips a beat. She knows this. She's aware of the reality of the situation, but hearing it from Haley makes the weight of it feel even heavier. "I'm not looking for anything more than a friendship," she protests weakly, though she knows the lie doesn't quite sit right with her. Haley's gaze softens, but there's no mistaking the worry etched in her features. "It's not just about what you want. It's about the pressure, the expectations. He can't just fall for you like that. He can't risk it." She shakes her head. "He's playing with fire, Kate, and you're getting pulled into something you can't control." Caitlyn swallows hard, her fingers tightening around the fabric of the gown she's working on. "He's not like that. I can see it, Haley. He doesn't want to be trapped in that world. He's different with me. He's not the prince when it's just us." Haley exhales, her expression softening, but still firm. "You're seeing what you want to see. You're seeing the person he wants to be, not the person he has to be. Kate, I'm telling you this because I care about you. You're an incredible designer. You've worked so hard to get here. Don't let your feelings blind you to the reality of who he is and where he comes from." Caitlyn stands there in silence, her hands trembling slightly. She wants to argue, to tell Haley she's wrong. But the truth is, a part of her knows Haley isn't entirely off the mark. There is a line she could be crossing, one she might not be able to come back from. "I don't want to hurt you, Kate," Haley continues, her voice softer now. "But I want you to be careful. You deserve so much more than the heartbreak this could bring." Caitlyn takes a deep breath, her mind spinning. She knows Haley only wants to protect her, but she also knows she can't ignore the feelings growing inside her. How could she just turn away from Jeff now? I know, Caitlyn whispers, her voice almost breaking. I know. Haley steps forward, placing a hand on Caitlyn's shoulder. I just want you to be aware, okay? Don't lose yourself in this. And please think before you let it go too far. Caitlyn nods, her throat tight. I will. Thanks, Haley. But even as she says the words, a small part of her wonders if it's already too late. As the days pass, Caitlyn finds herself becoming more and more attuned to the weight Jeff carries as the heir to the throne. At first, she had been enchanted by his charm, his wit, and his apparent freedom from the constraints of royalty. But now, as she spends more time with him, she begins to see the subtle signs of strain beneath his easygoing exterior. It starts with small things. His reluctance to speak about his responsibilities, the way he constantly checks his phone, as if expecting urgent calls that never come. One evening, as she's adjusting the neckline of Isabelle's gown, Caitlyn catches him glancing at his phone again, his brow furrowed in concentration. Everything okay? She asks, unable to ignore the tension in his voice when he replies. Yeah, just business. You know how it is, Jeff says with a forced smile, though Caitlyn can tell he's hiding something. Later that week, Caitlyn accompanies him to a charity gala where he's expected to make an appearance. The glitz and glamour of the event are overwhelming, with society's elite gathered around, vying for his attention. As they enter the grand hall, Caitlyn feels the weight of the expectations settle over Jeff like a heavy cloak. He's immediately surrounded by well-wishers, political figures, and members of the royal family, all eager to speak to him, to engage with him, to make sure he's seen. The pressure is palpable. Caitlyn watches as Jeff puts on his polite, reserved smile, his eyes scanning the crowd as if searching for an escape. When she catches his gaze across the room, he offers a brief nod, but his expression is distant, almost lost. At one point, Caitlyn finds herself standing at the edge of the crowd, observing Jeff as he's pulled from one conversation to the next. She notices how people treat him, not as a person, but as an asset, a symbol of power, someone to be molded into their expectations. He laughs at the right moments, says the right things, but there's something in his eyes that tells Caitlyn he's simply going through the motions. As she's about to step away to get some air, a hand gently rests on her shoulder. She turns to see Jeff standing behind her, looking momentarily weary. You all right? She asks, sensing the exhaustion in his eyes. Just another night, he replies, his voice strained. You get used to it. After a while, you learn how to wear the crown, even if it's invisible. Caitlyn's heart aches as she looks at him. She can't imagine the weight of it all. The endless expectations, the constant scrutiny, the feeling of being suffocated by duty. For a moment, she's reminded of her own struggles to make a name for herself in the fashion world. But this is different. This is the kind of pressure that shapes your entire life, dictates every decision, and leaves no room for personal choice. The realization hits Caitlyn harder than she expected. Jeff doesn't have the luxury of being himself. He can't simply live for the moments he wants. He's tied to something much bigger than he is. I don't know how you do it, Caitlyn says softly. How do you keep going with all of this? Jeff looks at her, his expression softening. You just find ways to escape, to forget, even if it's just for a little while. He pauses, his gaze lingering on her. Like this, like being here with you. It's a rare thing. Caitlyn feels the warmth of his words, but there's an ache behind them too. She can see now that his charm, his easygoing nature are armor, carefully crafted to protect him from the constant onslaught of obligations. As the night wears on, Caitlyn stays close to Jeff, offering him small moments of respite in the midst of the chaos. She keeps him grounded, reminding him of the person he is outside of the prince he's expected to be. In these fleeting moments, Caitlyn realizes how much Jeff needs someone who sees him for who he truly is, not just for his title. But with each passing day, the tension between them builds. Caitlyn feels herself falling harder for him, but she knows the truth. She's not part of his world. No matter how much they connect on a personal level, there are forces beyond their control that would pull them apart. The pressure Jeff faces is becoming more clear to Caitlyn, and it's beginning to weigh heavily on her heart as well. She can't ignore the fact that this, whatever this connection is, has an expiration date. Act 6, A Royal Invitation. The evening of the pre-New Year's gala arrives, and Caitlyn finds herself staring at the mirror in her boutique's fitting room, tugging nervously at the hem of the elegant gown she's wearing. It's the first time she's worn something this luxurious, and she can't help but feel out of place. The soft, champagne-colored fabric drapes gracefully over her frame, and the intricate beadwork catches the light, making her feel both glamorous and, oddly, exposed. Caitlyn's phone buzzes just as she's adjusting her hair, and she glances down at the message from Jeff. "I'll meet you at the front entrance in 30 minutes. Can't wait to see you." She exhales slowly, smoothing down the skirt of her gown. "Can't wait to see me," she thinks, still trying to come to terms with how much her connection to him has grown in the past few days. Their gown fittings have become more than just professional appointments. Each meeting with Jeff feels like an escape, a break from the constant noise of her life, and she finds herself looking forward to their time together more than she's willing to admit. Arriving at the grand ballroom of the venue, Caitlyn's breath catches in her throat. The building itself is breathtaking, an architectural masterpiece bathed in soft, golden light. The moment she steps through the doors, she's enveloped in the world of high society. Elegant gowns, sharp tuxedos, and the soft hum of clinking glasses, laughter, and the smooth notes of a string quartet in the background. A sense of awe strikes her as she takes it all in, her heels clicking softly against the marble floor. She's never seen anything quite like this before. The wealth, the refinement, the effortless grace with which everyone carries themselves. It's as if the world outside doesn't exist, and she's momentarily struck by how far removed her life as a designer at a small boutique feels from this dazzling sphere. "Caitlyn, you made it," a familiar voice calls out. She turns to find Jeff standing at the top of a sweeping staircase, dressed in a sharp black tuxedo that only accentuates his natural charm. His presence commands attention without being overt, and Caitlyn finds herself momentarily speechless as he walks toward her, his eyes lighting up with genuine delight. "You look incredible," Jeff says, his smile making Caitlyn's heart flutter. Caitlyn blushes, suddenly feeling self-conscious. "Thanks. It's a bit overwhelming," she admits, gesturing to the sea of beautifully dressed people around them. "I don't think I belong here." Jeff chuckles softly, offering his arm. "You belong here more than you think. Come on, I'll introduce you to a few people." As they make their way through the crowd, Caitlyn can't help but feel like an outsider. She's introduced to a slew of dignitaries, wealthy socialites, and important figures from Edgemoor's elite circles. Everyone is polished, poised, and perfectly at ease in this world. They speak in hushed tones about the latest fashion trends, the political climate, and business deals that Caitlyn can't even begin to follow. But despite the formality of the event, Jeff stays close, offering her small moments of reassurance. He introduces her to people with genuine warmth, making sure she feels included, even if she can't fully shake the feeling that she's a fish out of water. As the evening unfolds, Caitlyn finds herself in awe of the elegance around her, but also acutely aware of the emotional distance between her and these people. They talk in circles about things that don't matter to her, and she catches herself zoning out a few times, wishing she were back in her cozy little boutique where the focus was on her work, not on impressing anyone. She notices Jeff is often pulled away by various guests. Discussions with potential business partners, royal advisors, and other dignitaries, all of whom treat him like a public figure rather than a person. He seems to glide through these interactions, maintaining the perfect balance of charisma and detachment. At one point, as she stands near the refreshments, Caitlyn overhears a conversation between a well-dressed couple about Jeff's impending engagement to Isabelle. Their words are sharp, as if they're dissecting the royal relationship with no regard for the personal feelings involved. "Do you think the prince will really go through with the engagement to Isabelle?" one woman says, sipping her champagne. "His family is breathing down his neck. They've made it clear this wedding is non-negotiable." "I heard he's already given his word," the man replies, his voice low. "No room for romance in that world. Too many responsibilities." Caitlyn's heart aches as she listens. She doesn't want to believe it. She doesn't want to think of Jeff as being trapped in this arrangement. But she knows deep down that it's the truth. He is bound by the expectations of his royal title, just as much as Isabelle is bound to her role as the future queen. She turns away from the conversation, her thoughts swirling as she takes a sip of her drink. As she does, Jeff reappears at her side, his expression softened from the facade he's worn for most of the night. "You doing okay?" he asks, his voice low and private in the midst of the crowd. Caitlyn nods, though the weight of everything she's overheard feels heavy on her chest. "Yeah, just taking it all in." Jeff gives her a small, understanding smile, as if he knows exactly what she's thinking. "I know it's a lot," he says, his tone sincere, "but you're handling it better than most people would." Caitlyn meets his gaze, her heart beating faster. "I just wish I could stay in this moment," she says softly. "It feels like everything here is temporary, like none of this is real." Jeff's eyes darken slightly, his hand brushing against hers. "I get that," he murmurs. "But sometimes it's nice to forget all the rules, all the pressures. Just be yourself." Caitlyn smiles at him, grateful for his words, even if she knows deep down that neither of them can fully escape the reality that awaits them outside this glittering world. The evening proceeds with a sense of glamour and endless conversations, but Caitlyn can't shake the feeling that something is changing between her and Jeff. Every time their eyes meet across the room, it feels like the world slows down for just a moment. But as the night stretches on, Caitlyn becomes increasingly aware of Isabelle's watchful gaze. Isabelle, dressed in a stunning emerald gown that complements her striking features, moves through the crowd with practiced grace, a smile always fixed on her face. However, Caitlyn notices that every time she looks in Jeff's direction, the smile on Isabelle's lips tightens slightly, her eyes narrowing as if taking mental notes. At one point, Caitlyn excuses herself to the ladies' room, hoping to clear her head for a moment. As she steps away from the gathering, she hears the soft sound of footsteps behind her. Turning, she finds Isabelle standing in the doorway, her arms crossed as she leans casually against the frame. "Enjoying yourself?" Isabelle asks, her voice sweet, but with an edge Caitlyn can't ignore. Caitlyn offers a smile, albeit a little unsure. "It's a beautiful evening," she says, her eyes flicking toward the ballroom before she refocuses on Isabelle. "I'm a little out of my element, though." Isabelle's gaze sharpens, but she keeps her tone light. "I imagine it's a lot to take in. You're not the only one who's ever been overwhelmed by all of this." She gestures toward the festivities happening just beyond the door. The elegant dance floor, the high-profile guests, the lavish decor. "But we all adapt. We have to." Caitlyn nods, her stomach tightening as she feels the tension in the air between them. There's something about Isabelle's smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. She's not sure whether it's jealousy or something else, but it's unmistakable. "How's the gown coming along?" Isabelle asks after a moment, a subtle challenge in her voice. "I'm sure it will be spectacular. After all, this is going to be a night to remember." Caitlyn hesitates before responding. "It's almost finished. I think it will be perfect for the occasion." Her tone is steady, though she feels a flicker of unease. The way Isabelle speaks now, like she's measuring every word, feels less like a conversation and more like an interrogation. Isabelle steps closer, lowering her voice. "I hope you're not getting too attached to anything here, Caitlyn. There are certain expectations that come with this world, especially for someone like you." The underlying implication of her words hits Caitlyn squarely in the chest. She's heard rumors about Isabelle's possessiveness, especially when it comes to Jeff. But this feels different. This is a direct warning. Before Caitlyn can respond, Isabelle smiles again, though it doesn't feel genuine. "But I'm sure you'll figure it out. Everyone does." With a flick of her hair, Isabelle turns and glides back toward the ballroom, leaving Caitlyn standing in the hallway, her heart pounding in her chest. Later that evening, Caitlyn tries to push Isabelle's words to the back of her mind as she reconnects with Jeff, who is standing near the grand piano, laughing with a group of guests. As soon as he spots her, his eyes light up, and he steps forward with a grin. "Hey, you look amazing," Jeff says, offering her his arm. Caitlyn forces a smile, but the lingering feeling of unease won't go away. As they walk together, she can't shake the image of Isabelle's calculating gaze. She knows Isabelle has noticed something between her and Jeff that goes beyond the professional relationship they've kept up until now. As the night wears on, Caitlyn begins to notice more subtle hints of Isabelle's scrutiny. She catches her watching Jeff from across the room, her eyes flicking back to Caitlyn as if she's making mental notes. Isabelle's polite smile falters whenever she speaks to Caitlyn, as though she's sizing her up, measuring her presence in this world that Caitlyn doesn't fully belong to. At one point, when Caitlyn steps out onto the balcony to get some fresh air, she sees Isabelle from a distance, talking quietly with a few of the royal advisors. Caitlyn can't hear their words, but the way Isabelle gestures in her direction makes her heart skip a beat. Something's not right, Caitlyn murmurs to herself, her breath misting in the cold air. I need to be careful. She's not sure what Isabelle knows or suspects, but Caitlyn can feel the weight of the socialite's watchful eye. The growing tension between them is palpable, and Caitlyn knows that as the days until the New Year's Eve party dwindle, it's only going to escalate. Act 7. Sparks fly. The evening's festivities continue inside the grand ballroom, where the laughter and music blend into a hum of luxury and indulgence. But Caitlyn feels the need for a break, the weight of the glittering world around her making her head spin. She slips out of the ballroom and heads for the balcony, hoping to find a few moments of solitude beneath the starry sky. The chilly night air greets her as she steps onto the stone balcony, the faint scent of jasmine drifting from the garden below. She leans over the wrought iron railing, taking in the view of the sprawling estate, its manicured gardens, the shimmering lights from the grand house, reflecting off the perfectly still pond. The serenity of the scene calms her racing thoughts, but it doesn't quell the turmoil stirring inside her. She's barely had time to collect her thoughts when a soft voice breaks the silence. Mind if I join you? Caitlyn turns to find Jeff standing a few feet away, his tuxedo sharp and his smile warm. The soft glow of the surrounding lanterns casts a golden light on his features, making him look even more handsome than she remembers. Despite the opulence of the evening, there's a quiet sincerity in his eyes that cuts through the superficiality of the event. Of course, Caitlyn says, trying to sound casual as she steps aside to make room for him. Jeff steps forward and leans casually against the railing beside her. For a few moments, they stand in comfortable silence, both looking out at the estate, but neither truly seeing it. Caitlyn can feel the unspoken tension between them, the undeniable chemistry that has grown with every stolen moment they've shared. She's not sure why, but tonight it feels different. It feels more real than ever before. Jeff is the first to break the silence. It's a bit overwhelming, isn't it? He says, his voice low, as if speaking a shared truth. All this world, this life, it can be suffocating sometimes. Caitlyn glances at him, surprised. His words echo her own feelings about the night, but she never expected to hear him voice such vulnerability. His gaze shifts from the grand estate to her, and their eyes meet, a moment of connection that makes her heart race. I've never felt like I belonged in places like this, she admits, her voice soft but steady. It all feels like a dream I'm about to wake up from. You're not alone in that, Jeff murmurs, but you belong here more than you think. His words hang in the air between them, sincere and yet somehow loaded with an unspoken promise. Caitlyn feels a warmth spread through her chest, but it's quickly followed by a sense of hesitation. She knows the reality of their situation. He's a prince, and she's just a designer from a small boutique. There's no room in his world for someone like her, and yet standing here with him, the idea of their worlds colliding doesn't feel impossible. It feels natural. She smiles faintly, not wanting to let the moment slip away. Thanks, she says, her eyes still locked on his. but I think I'm just getting used to the idea that I'm way out of my league here. Jeff chuckles softly, the sound deep and rich. Well, if you're out of your league, then I must be in the wrong one too. Their laughter, light and genuine, fills the space between them, easing the tension and making everything feel a little more comfortable, a little more real. As they quiet again, Caitlyn glances at Jeff from the corner of her eye, and she can't help but notice how close he is, how their shoulders almost brush. The air between them feels charged now, an electric current that neither of them can ignore. You know, Jeff says quietly, his gaze fixed on her, I'm really glad you're here tonight. Not just for the gown, but because I actually get to spend time with you. I'm starting to think that this, he gestures between them, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they've shared, might be the most honest thing about this whole evening. Caitlyn's breath catches in her throat. His words, so direct and vulnerable, strike her to the core. She wants to respond, to tell him how much she's enjoyed their time together, how much it's meant to her, but the reality of their different worlds presses down on her, heavy and undeniable. I wish things were simpler, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. But I know they aren't. Jeff turns to face her fully now, his expression serious but tender. I know, he says, his voice almost a whisper. But that doesn't change the fact that I like being with you, Caitlyn, more than I thought I would. For a moment, time seems to stand still. The noise of the gala fades away, and it's just the two of them, standing in the quiet of the night, their hearts laid bare. Caitlyn feels an overwhelming urge to reach out, to close the gap between them, but the thought of what might happen afterward keeps her still. Before she can say anything, Jeff takes a small step closer, his hand brushing against hers. The simple touch sends a ripple through her, and she's struck by how natural it feels. How right. But before either of them can say anything more, the sound of footsteps approaching from the inside of the house pulls them back to reality. The spell is broken, and Caitlyn quickly steps away, her cheeks flushing with heat. We should get back inside, she says, her voice a little shaky. Jeff smiles softly, but there's a look in his eyes that tells Caitlyn he's feeling the same pull. Yeah, we should, he agrees, but I'm glad we had this moment. Caitlyn nods, though her mind is racing. The connection they've just shared lingers in the air between them as they return to the gala, and Caitlyn knows that whatever happens next, things will never be the same. As they step back into the vibrant chaos of the gala, the energy inside the ballroom feels overwhelming. The noise of clinking glasses and laughter floods Caitlyn's senses, but the intimate moment they just shared still lingers in the air. Her pulse races, and she can't shake the feeling of Jeff's gaze, the way he looked at her like he saw through all the glamour and pretense. It's as if, for just a few minutes, they were the only two people in the world. They return to the crowd, but Jeff seems distant. His earlier ease has faded, replaced by a faint tension that Caitlyn can't ignore. He stands beside her, but there's a subtle distance in his posture, a guardedness that wasn't there before. She can't help but notice it, and her curiosity nudges her forward. Jeff, are you okay? She asks softly, glancing up at him, her voice concerned but gentle. You seem off. He looks at her, a small smile tugging at his lips, but it doesn't quite reach his eyes. I'm fine, he replies. but there's an edge to his tone, a quiet frustration that speaks volumes. Caitlyn raises an eyebrow, sensing that there's more beneath the surface. She nudges him lightly with her elbow. "You don't have to put on a front with me, you know." Jeff hesitates for a moment, his gaze flicking over the bustling crowd, as if searching for something, anything, to distract him. But then, with a deep sigh, he turns back to her, his expression softening. "You're right," he admits, his voice quieter now, more vulnerable than before. "I've been feeling a bit suffocated lately. I know it probably sounds strange, given everything that's happening around me, but I sometimes wish I had more control over my own future." Caitlyn tilts her head slightly, sensing the weight behind his words. She can see it in his eyes, an inner conflict that runs deeper than she imagined. "What do you mean?" she asks gently. Jeff looks around the ballroom, the grandeur of the evening suddenly feeling like a heavy chain around him. This whole life, this expectation that I'll follow a certain path, he says, his voice tinged with frustration. "Everyone expects me to marry Isabelle, to fulfill my duties as the future king of Edgemoor. There's no room for me to choose what I want, what I really want." Caitlyn's heart aches as she listens to him. She's always known that being a prince meant a life filled with duties, but hearing him speak about it so openly makes her realize just how much pressure he's under. The weight of the crown, of his family's expectations, seems unbearable. "You're being pushed into a mold that doesn't fit you," Caitlyn observes, her voice gentle but full of empathy. "You're expected to play a part, but what about you? What do you want?" Jeff glances down at her, his eyes searching hers, as though looking for some kind of reassurance, some kind of solace in her presence. "That's just it," he says with a quiet bitterness. "I don't even know what I want anymore. I've spent so many years doing what's expected of me, trying to meet everyone else's standards, that I've forgotten what it feels like to make a decision for myself." Caitlyn feels a pang of sympathy for him. She can't imagine the weight of being thrust into such a demanding role, with no room to explore his own desires, his own dreams. She reaches out, placing a hand gently on his arm, offering a small but steady gesture of support. "I'm sorry," she says softly. "I can't pretend to know what it's like to live your life, but I can see that you're struggling with it. You deserve to have the chance to choose your own path. Imagine a life where I'm not constantly answering to someone else. I want more than that. I want to be me again, to not always have to pretend to be something I'm not." Caitlyn's heart aches for him, and she finds herself drawn to him even more. There's something incredibly human about his vulnerability, something that makes him feel real and grounded in a world that seems anything but. She knows this is a side of him that very few people get to see. The prince who longs for the freedom to simply live. The man who enjoys simple moments, who doesn't have to be Prince Jeffrey all the time. Jeff's gaze softens, and for a moment, he looks at her as if she's offering him a lifeline. "Maybe you're right," he says quietly. "Maybe I can find a way to be just Jeff, even if only for a short time." Caitlyn smiles, her heart warming at his words. She knows that the road ahead will be anything but easy, but there's something beautiful about the connection they're forming, something real amidst all the illusions of wealth and status. It gives her hope that, despite the pressure from his world, Jeff might just find a way to reclaim his own life, his own choices. "You don't have to figure it all out right now," Caitlyn adds, her voice gentle. but you deserve the space to try. And if you ever need someone to talk to or just someone to be with who sees you for who you really are, I'm here." Jeff smiles at her, a true smile this time, and for the first time all evening, he seems to let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. "Thank you, Caitlyn," he says, his voice filled with quiet gratitude. "I don't know where this is going, but I'm really glad it's with you." Their eyes meet again, the connection between them deepening as they both realize that, despite the complexities of their worlds, there's something undeniable between them, a shared understanding, a sense of hope for a future where they can be free to choose their own paths. As the days go by, Caitlyn finds herself increasingly drawn to Jeff. Their interactions have become more than just professional. They've become something deeper, something more personal. Every time he smiles at her, she feels a flutter in her chest. Every moment they share, whether it's talking about his childhood or simply laughing over a funny comment, feels like a piece of a puzzle falling into place. There's a part of Caitlyn that wishes she could ignore the growing feelings for him, but they're undeniable. She can't help but notice the way he listens intently when she talks about her dreams, the way his eyes soften when she shares something personal. His kindness, his vulnerability, his genuine interest in who she is, all of it pulls her in. But as much as she enjoys their time together, a nagging voice in the back of her mind keeps reminding her of the reality she can't escape. He belongs to Isabelle. Every time Caitlyn catches herself thinking about what it would be like if they were more than just friends, if they could explore the chemistry between them, she quickly pulls herself back. The weight of his royal status, the future he's already bound to, looms large over their connection. Isabelle is the woman he's meant to marry, and Caitlyn is just the designer tasked with creating her gown. That's all. That's all. Caitlyn forces herself to focus on the gown, on the work at hand. But every time she thinks of Jeff, her thoughts become tangled. She reminds herself that no matter how much she feels for him, their worlds are too different. He's the future king, bound by duty and tradition. She's an aspiring designer trying to carve out a future for herself in the fashion world. The gap between their lives feels insurmountable, no matter how much they connect on a personal level. Still, every time she sees him, whether it's in the palace courtyard, in the workshop, or at a fitting, her heart skips a beat. She can't help but notice the way he holds himself, the way his eyes search hers when they talk, as though trying to communicate something he can't say out loud. There are moments when she feels like maybe, just maybe, he feels the same way she does. But reality crashes back every time. He's promised to Isabelle. His future has already been written. Caitlyn stands in front of the mirror, adjusting the fabric of the gown she's been working on for days, her fingers brushing over the delicate silk. She takes a deep breath, steadying herself. She can't afford to let her emotions get tangled up in this. She can't afford to let herself fall for a man she knows she can never have. Focus on the work, she mutters to herself, trying to push the thoughts of Jeff aside. Focus on the gown, Caitlyn. Focus on your future. But even as she says the words, she knows it's not that simple. Every thread she pulls, every stitch she makes, seems to bring her thoughts back to him. She wonders if he's thinking about her too, if the pull between them is as strong for him as it is for her. Yet, she knows what she has to do. She has to keep her distance, She has to remind herself that their connection, as special as it feels, is fleeting. He's not hers to keep. He's promised to someone else. With a sigh, Caitlyn turns back to her work, pushing the fluttering emotions deep inside her. Focus, one gown at a time. That's all she can control right now. But as she works, her thoughts continue to drift to Jeff, the man who has made her heart race in ways she never expected. The man who, despite everything, might just be the one she was never meant to have. Act 8, Isabelle's plan. As Caitlyn works tirelessly on Isabelle's gown, she notices the subtle shift in Isabelle's demeanor. While Isabelle continues to praise the work, there's a coldness in her smile, an edge to her words that Caitlyn can't quite place. She brushes it off, thinking it's simply the pressure of the upcoming event. But little does she know that Isabelle has begun to see her as a threat. Isabelle's suspicions about Caitlyn's growing connection with Jeff have been festering for days. It's clear to her now that something more than just a professional relationship is blossoming between the two. She's seen the way Jeff looks at Caitlyn when they're together, how his attention lingers just a little too long on her. That playful spark between them hasn't gone unnoticed by Isabelle, and it makes her uneasy. For someone like Isabelle, used to being in control of every situation, the idea that a mere designer could threaten her carefully planned future with Jeff is unacceptable. She won't let anyone or anything stand in her way. Isabelle's jealousy simmers beneath the surface as she watches Caitlyn, so innocent and unaware, continue her work. But as the day of the gala draws nearer, Isabelle decides to take matters into her own hands. With a discreet, calculated move, she arranges for Caitlyn's gown design to be leaked to the press. It's a small slip, a photograph of the dress, taken just before Caitlyn finishes making the final adjustments, appears online. The caption is vague, but it's enough to create a buzz. The gown that will steal the show at tonight's New Year's Eve gala. But who's the designer? The leak causes an immediate stir in the fashion world, but not the kind Caitlyn was hoping for. The press is relentless. The gown, still a work in progress, is now associated with Caitlyn, and though people praise its elegance, they also criticize the premature publicity. There are whispers about the design being unfinished, poorly executed, and possibly plagiarized. A few even question whether Caitlyn is capable of handling such an important commission. Caitlyn's phone rings off the hook with messages from the boutique, from friends and from strangers. She can barely keep up with the flood of texts and calls, each one worse than the last. Is this your gown? Is this really the final design? This dress looks rushed. Are you sure you can pull it off? Her heart sinks as she scrolls through the articles. Some of them praise her for the design's potential, but the majority of them mock her for its lack of polish and the perceived rush to get it in front of the public. The weight of the scrutiny is overwhelming. It's everything Caitlyn feared. Her big break, tainted by an error she couldn't have predicted. And then there's the worst part. Caitlyn knows who is behind it. Isabelle's sudden, overly helpful remarks in the last few days, how she's so glad Caitlyn is getting attention, and how the gown is sure to be the talk of the town, now feel like thinly veiled attempts to cover up her own sabotage. At first, Caitlyn can't understand why Isabelle would do this. But then the pieces start to fall into place. Isabelle must have seen her as a rival. her growing connection with Jeff, the way Jeff seemed to enjoy spending time with Caitlyn, had to be too much for Isabelle to handle. In her mind, Caitlyn was an obstacle. She needed to be dealt with. Caitlyn tries to stay calm. She knows the importance of professionalism in this industry. But the stress of the situation is eating away at her. She's been working so hard for this opportunity, pouring her heart and soul into this gown. And now it's all falling apart. The press is too harsh. Her reputation is on the line, and she knows that once the damage is done, it will be difficult, if not impossible, to fix. As she sits in front of her phone, staring at the endless notifications, she feels the weight of it all. The pressure, the betrayal, the overwhelming sense of helplessness. She wants to fight back, but she doesn't know where to start. Who can she turn to for help? And then, just as the frustration threatens to consume her, she hears a knock on the door. It's Jeff. His face is filled with concern when he sees the chaos unfolding around her. He steps inside, asking softly, "Caitlyn, are you okay?" Caitlyn forces a smile, trying to mask the hurt. "I'm fine. It's just this dress design. There's been a leak, and the press is turning it into a circus." Jeff's expression hardens as he takes in the situation. He knows what this means for her reputation. He also knows that Isabelle has a hand in all of this. "I'm so sorry. This isn't your fault. It's all my fault," Caitlyn says, her voice shaking. "I should have been more careful. I never imagined something like this would happen." Jeff looks at her, his eyes filled with frustration and sympathy. "Caitlyn, you have nothing to apologize for. This is all Isabelle's doing." Caitlyn's heart sinks even further. "Isabelle? You think she—" "I know she did," Jeff interrupts, his voice firm. "She's threatened by you, Caitlyn. She's worried about what's happening between us, and she's doing everything she can to get in your way. But I won't let her ruin this for you." Caitlyn looks up at him, surprised by the intensity in his words. She hadn't realized how much Jeff had been paying attention, how much he understood the situation. In that moment, Caitlyn feels a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she doesn't have to face this alone. Caitlyn stands in the center of her small apartment, her hands trembling as she scrolls through the headlines on her phone. The articles are cruel, mocking her work and insinuating that she's in over her head. The gown, once a symbol of her talent and ambition, has now become a symbol of failure, thanks to Isabelle's interference. The weight of it all feels suffocating. She can't breathe, and her heart is heavy with a mixture of heartbreak and fury. She hears Jeff's knock on the door, soft but persistent. He's been calling her all afternoon, but she couldn't bring herself to answer. The last thing she wants is to hear comforting words or empty apologies. She knows deep down that Jeff is a good person, but this betrayal stings in a way she wasn't prepared for. She knows that the woman he's supposed to marry, Isabelle, had something to do with this. And what cuts the deepest is the thought that Jeff might have known all along. When she opens the door, Jeff stands in front of her, his expression filled with concern. He's come to make things right, but Caitlyn is beyond the point of caring about apologies. "What do you want, Jeff?" Caitlyn's voice cracks as she tries to hold back the wave of emotions threatening to spill over. Isabelle's little plan worked, didn't it? The dress leak, the press, it was all a game to her. And you were part of it. Jeff's eyes widen in surprise, his brow furrowing with confusion. "Caitlyn, what are you talking about?" I had nothing to do with the leak. Don't lie to me, she snaps, her voice shaking with hurt and anger. You knew, didn't you? You knew about her scheme, about what she was doing to me, and you didn't say a word. Jeff opens his mouth to respond, but Caitlyn cuts him off, her frustration boiling over. How could you just stand by and let her ruin everything for me? I trusted you, Jeff. You... She pauses, unable to finish the sentence, because the reality is too painful to admit. She thought he was different. She thought their connection meant something real, something that transcended his royal obligations. But now, everything feels like a lie. You think I'm just like Isabelle, don't you? That I'm just another man who uses people to get what I want. That I'm just going to sit back and let her destroy everything you've worked for. Caitlyn's voice falters with emotion as she spits out the words. Jeff steps forward, his eyes desperate. Caitlyn, that's not what's happening here. I had no idea Isabelle was capable of something like this. I've been trying to stop her from manipulating me, from controlling every part of my life. You're right that I haven't been as honest as I should have been, but I swear to you, I had no idea she would go this far. Caitlyn shakes her head, her disbelief palpable. How can I believe you? She's the one who's been feeding the press, making me look like a fool, and you just stand by and let it happen. Why? Because you're scared of her? Because you're scared of losing your title? Or is it just easier to go along with what she wants than fight for what you really want? Jeff reaches out, his voice soft but urgent. It's not about that. It's never been about that. It's about me not knowing how to fight for myself, for what I want. You think it's easy being in my shoes, having my every decision scrutinized, my life planned out for me? Isabelle, she's not the only one who wants control. My whole life has been about being the perfect heir, the perfect prince, and I've been living for everyone else but myself. I was scared to take a stand, Caitlyn, but not anymore. Caitlyn steps back, her eyes filled with frustration. Then why didn't you say something sooner? Why didn't you tell me the truth about who you really are? I've been feeling like I was living in some fairy tale, thinking that maybe you could be different. But now I just feel like I've been played. I'm sorry, Jeff says, his voice cracking as he reaches for her, his hand trembling. I'm sorry for not being honest sooner, for letting you feel like you were just another part of the game. But this is real. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I didn't want you to feel betrayed. Caitlyn looks away, her heart in turmoil. She wants to believe him, wants to believe that their connection was real and not some fleeting fantasy. But the pain of betrayal runs deep, and the fear of being hurt again is overwhelming. She feels the weight of her disappointment, both in Jeff and in herself. She never thought she'd be in a situation like this, torn between love and trust. You can't just say sorry and expect everything to be okay, Caitlyn mutters, her voice barely a whisper. I'm not some princess who can be swept off her feet by a few kind words. This is my life, my career, and you're asking me to believe that you didn't know about Isabelle's plan, that you had no idea she'd go this far to ruin me. Jeff lowers his head, guilt washing over him. I wish I could change what happened, Caitlyn. I wish I could take back the way things unfolded. But please, don't think that I'm not on your side. I want to fight for you, for us, but I need you to know that I can't do it alone. Caitlyn's heart aches with the conflict raging inside her. She wants to believe him, wants to believe that he's different, that his feelings for her are genuine. But the wounds from Isabelle's betrayal are still fresh, and the idea of trusting Jeff again feels like a leap of faith she's not sure she's ready to take. "I don't know if I can trust you right now," Caitlyn says quietly, her eyes brimming with tears. "I don't know if I can risk losing everything I've worked for, just to end up hurt again." Jeff's expression softens as he steps back, giving her space. "I understand, but I won't give up on you. Not now, not ever." Caitlyn watches him, her heart heavy with uncertainty. She's torn between the man she's fallen for and the reality of the situation. The road ahead is unclear, and the pain of the past is hard to overcome. But one thing is certain, their journey isn't over yet. Act 9. A rift forms. Caitlyn slams the door to her apartment shut, the sound echoing in the silence that fills the room. The weight of everything crashing down on her is almost unbearable. Her dreams, her hard work, her trust, all tainted by the betrayal she feels. The words from the press, the cruel headlines, and the events of the past few days swirl in her mind, drowning out all other thoughts. She feels like a failure, not just professionally, but emotionally too. Every step she's taken to get to this point, every stitch she's sewn with hope, has unraveled in a way she never anticipated. She walks across the room, picking up a crumpled design sketch from the floor. Her fingers trace the lines, but the joy of creating, the excitement she once felt about seeing her designs come to life, now feels hollow. The gown she worked so hard on for Isabelle's party, once her proudest achievement, now feels like a symbol of everything that's gone wrong. "I can't do this anymore," Caitlyn murmurs, the words barely a whisper as she stares at her designs. Her heart feels heavy, her soul exhausted. She's poured everything into this career, this dream, and in return, it's been torn apart by people she trusted, and by a man she thought she could rely on. The phone buzzes on the counter, and Caitlyn instinctively reaches for it. It's a message from Haley, asking if she's okay. But Caitlyn can't bring herself to reply. She feels too far gone, too defeated. The world of fashion, with its glitz and glamour, feels like a cruel joke. She's not the kind of person who can survive in a world like this, a world where betrayal lurks behind every smile, and where trust is a commodity that can be easily broken. She drops the phone onto the counter and walks over to the small wardrobe where she keeps her things. Her sketches, her sewing tools, her dreams. She pulls out the box where she keeps the fabric swatches for future designs. It all feels so insignificant now. The thought of going back to work at the boutique, designing for people who only care about appearances, seems unbearable. "I'm done," she says to herself, the finality of the words hitting her like a punch to the gut. She has to let it go. Fashion, her passion, her dream, it's all been poisoned. The pressure to succeed, the politics of the industry, the manipulations, and the lies. It's too much. With a deep breath, Caitlyn pulls out the resignation letter she'd written in her mind a dozen times. She pulls out a pen and begins to write, each word heavy with sorrow. Her hands shake slightly as she scribbles her decision to quit the boutique and the industry altogether. "I can't keep pretending this is what I want," she writes. "I need to find something that brings me peace, something that reminds me of who I am, not what others want me to be." As she finishes the letter, she folds it neatly and places it on the table. Her gaze falls on the small drawing of a gown she'd started working on for the next collection. Before everything fell apart, she stares at it for a moment, her heart filled with a mixture of sadness and relief. There's no going back now. Caitlyn walks to the door, her eyes lingering on her sketches one last time. She takes a deep breath, a strange sense of calm washing over her despite the pain. There's a world out there beyond the runway, beyond the flashing cameras and shallow expectations. Maybe it's time for her to find it. Time for a new path. The door clicks shut behind her, and Caitlyn steps out into the cold night, unsure of where she's going, but knowing she has to move forward. Jeff stands frozen in the middle of the grand hallway of the palace, the words Caitlyn had said echoing in his mind. The sound of her anger, the bitterness, and the hurt in her voice reverberates through him, each word slicing deeper than he expected. He watches her walk out, her silhouette disappearing through the door, and for the first time in his life, he feels the weight of his royal title more than ever. He had always known the pressure that came with being Prince Geoffrey of Edgemoor, the expectations, the rules, the duty that tied him to the throne. But he had never truly understood how it would feel to lose someone because of it. The feeling gnaws at him as he stands there, the reality sinking in that Caitlyn's anger wasn't just about the dress, or the press, or the manipulations of Isabelle. It was about him. His failure to choose her, his inability to break free from the chains of his royal responsibilities, and the lie he had let his life become in the face of duty. The truth hits him with undeniable clarity. He never wanted to be the prince who had to choose between love and duty. He never wanted to be the man who disappointed someone he cared for, who made them feel like a pawn in a game he had no control over. But he also knows the intricacies of his position. He cannot simply walk away from his royal obligations. His family, the council, the legacy of the throne, they all rely on him. The very future of Edgemoor is tied to the choices he makes now, and Caitlyn, as much as he cares for her, is part of a world that feels impossibly distant from his own. Still, he can't shake the pull of her. He hasn't been able to stop thinking about her since the moment they met. Caitlyn's authenticity, her strength, her dreams, they've made him feel like he's someone worthy of being loved for who he truly is, not just for the title he bears. When he's with her, he's not Prince Geoffrey, heir to the throne. He's just Jeff, the man who wants to escape from the suffocating expectations placed on him and be free to love, to live, and to choose his own path. But Caitlyn doesn't understand that. She doesn't know the world he lives in, the weight of the crown that hangs on his every decision. He had tried so hard to make her see him for who he really was, but in the end, he had failed her. He had let her down in the worst possible way by not being honest from the start, by not being strong enough to fight for her sooner. Now, he wonders if it's too late. His heart aches with the realization that she may never forgive him. She may never understand the sacrifices he's had to make, the decisions that have already been made for him before he was born. His role is written, his future decided. He can't just walk away. He could never be free of his obligations, not completely. And yet, as he sits in his study, staring out at the city lights of Edgemoor, he feels a profound sense of loss. He doesn't want to let Caitlyn go. He doesn't want to live a life that's dictated by his family's expectations if it means losing someone who makes him feel truly alive. There's a knock at the door, and Jeff shakes himself out of his thoughts. It's his advisor, Michael, entering the room with a stack of papers, no doubt related to the upcoming New Year's Eve gala, his coronation, and the endless meetings awaiting him. But none of it seems important anymore. Not when he's just lost Caitlyn. "I need to think," Jeff murmurs to Michael, his voice softer than usual. The advisor doesn't press him, but gives him a knowing look before leaving the room. Jeff stares out at the night sky, his mind racing. He's caught between his royal duties, the future of his kingdom, and his feelings for Caitlyn. He knows he can't have it all, but as his heart aches for the woman he loves, he wonders if he can ever truly be himself while wearing the crown. Would Caitlyn ever understand the internal battle he faces, or would his responsibility to the kingdom always come between them? His heart whispers that he can't give up on her. But can he find a way to reconcile his love for Caitlyn with his duty as Prince Geoffrey? The road ahead is uncertain, but the one thing he's sure of is that he's willing to fight for a future with her, if only he can figure out how to make it work. Act 10. A grand gesture. The air in the royal palace feels colder than usual as Jeff makes his way down the long, echoing corridor toward Isabelle's private sitting room. His mind is clouded with turmoil, his chest heavy with the weight of everything that's happened. The hurt, the confusion, and the unmistakable betrayal that has come from the woman he once thought he could trust. He knows that Caitlyn is gone. He knows she's hurt, and he knows that she believes he's complicit in the cruel manipulation that Isabelle has orchestrated. He can't change what has happened, but there is one thing he can do. He can't let Isabelle get away with what she's done. As he enters the room, Isabelle looks up from the vanity mirror, her eyes lighting up in her usual regal way. She's sitting elegantly in her velvet chair, surrounded by extravagant gowns and sparkling jewels, her world untouched by the storm brewing around her. She doesn't yet sense the storm approaching. "Jeff, darling, I didn't expect to see you here tonight. Are we still on for the gala?" Isabelle says, her voice as sweet as honey, but there's a hint of something colder underneath, something Jeff now recognizes all too well. "I need to speak with you," Jeff says firmly, his jaw tight with barely contained anger. "It's about Caitlyn." At the mention of Caitlyn's name, Isabelle's smile falters for a brief moment, but she quickly recovers, the practiced mask slipping back into place. "Caitlyn, what about her? Is something wrong with the dress? I thought everything was going perfectly." Jeff takes a step closer, his gaze intense. "I know what you did. I know you leaked her designs to the press." The words hang in the air, thick with accusation. Isabelle's eyes narrow, but she doesn't seem shocked, almost as if she expected this moment to come. She stands up gracefully, smoothing the fabric of her gown, and her face transforms into a picture of calm calculation. "You misunderstand, Jeff," Isabelle says, her voice smooth, but her eyes gleam with something darker. "It was merely a strategic move. She was a distraction, nothing more." "A distraction?" Jeff repeats, his voice rising, anger and disbelief mixing together. "You've ruined her career, Isabelle. You've hurt someone who didn't deserve any of this. And for what? So you could secure a deal with the press? So you could get your way?" Isabelle lifts her chin, looking at him with a mixture of disdain and amusement. "You're being naive, Geoffrey. The media would have found out about her designs eventually. I merely expedited the process. It's how things are done in our world." She's just a designer, after all, and you're the prince. You need to think about what's best for our future. Not anymore, Jeff snaps. His eyes burn with determination. I'm calling off our arrangement. The engagement is over. Isabelle's eyes flash with anger now, but she quickly masks it with a cold, calculating smile. You can't do that. You can't just... I can. Jeff interrupts, his voice resolute. I won't marry someone who plays games with people's lives. Caitlyn deserves better than this, and I deserve to be free to live my life the way I want to, without being trapped in a marriage based on duty and manipulation. For a moment, Isabelle is silent, her lips pressed into a thin line. Her eyes flicker with something like disbelief, and then she steps toward him, her voice low and icy. You're making a mistake, Jeff. You're giving up a future that's been planned for you, one that guarantees the throne. You'll regret this. Jeff doesn't waver. I'll never regret choosing my own path. And as for you, our arrangement is finished. I'll make sure the Royal Council knows. This ends now. Isabelle takes a deep breath, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then, with a curt nod, she turns away from him, her shoulders stiff with pride, but her face pale with the recognition of the power she's just lost. Fine, she says, her voice cold, but don't expect me to go quietly. As Jeff turns to leave, his heart pounds in his chest, but there's a sense of relief that washes over him. For the first time in months, he feels as though he's taken control of his own life. He's made the right decision, one for Caitlyn, for himself, and for his future. Now, all he needs to do is find Caitlyn, apologize, and make things right between them. His heart races with the thought of her, of what they could be together. He won't let Isabelle's schemes or his royal duty stand in the way of what he truly wants. The sun is setting as Jeff hurries through the streets of the city, his heart racing. The cold winter air nips at his skin, but he barely notices it. All that matters is finding Caitlyn. He can't let her leave. He can't let her think he's the same person she believed him to be. He can't let her walk away from him because of Isabelle's lies. He reaches the boutique where Caitlyn works, and his gaze quickly scans the street, desperate to catch a glimpse of her. The door is ajar, and through the window, he sees Caitlyn packing her things into a suitcase. His breath catches in his throat. She's really going. Jeff pushes the door open, the familiar chime ringing in the quiet shop, and Caitlyn looks up, startled to see him. Her face is a mix of surprise and caution, the hurt from their last encounter still etched in her features. Caitlyn, wait, Jeff says, rushing toward her. His voice is urgent, his tone softening as he takes a step closer. I need to talk to you. Please, just give me a chance to explain. Caitlyn freezes for a moment, her eyes narrowing slightly as she crosses her arms. I think we've said everything that needs to be said, Jeff, she replies, her voice steady but laced with sorrow. I've been used and lied to. I don't want any part of that world anymore. Her words strike him like a blow, but Jeff isn't about to give up. He takes another step toward her, his voice gentle but filled with conviction. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be, but I didn't know about Isabelle's scheme. I had no idea she leaked your designs to the press. I swear to you, Caitlyn, I never wanted to hurt you. Caitlyn's gaze softens for a moment, but then she shakes her head. You should have known, Jeff. You're part of that world. You're a prince. You could have stopped it. You could have. I didn't want to be part of that world. Jeff interrupts, his voice low but intense. I didn't want to live my life according to other people's plans, and I certainly didn't want to be with someone who treated you like a pawn. I called off the engagement with Isabelle. I'm done with the pressure, the expectations, and the manipulation. Caitlyn's eyes widen in disbelief. You called off your engagement? But you're the heir to the throne. You're supposed to marry someone like Isabelle, someone who fits the role. I don't care about the throne, Caitlyn, Jeff says, his voice firm. I care about you. I want to be with you, not because of duty, but because of who you are. You make me feel like myself. You make me feel free. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose you. Caitlyn's breath catches in her throat, and for a moment, there's silence between them. Her heart is torn. She's been burned, she's been betrayed, but everything Jeff is saying feels real. She wants to believe him, but the pain of the past few days is still fresh. I don't know if I can trust you again, she whispers, her voice fragile. I understand, Jeff replies, his voice gentle. But I'll do whatever it takes to prove myself to you. I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. I'm just asking for a chance to make things right. Caitlyn looks at him, her eyes searching his face for any sign of doubt, any indication that this is just another grand gesture to get what he wants. But all she sees is sincerity. She takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She's been hurt, but Jeff's words are stirring something deep inside her, a hope that maybe, just maybe, they could have something real. Where would we even start? She asks quietly, the uncertainty still lingering in her voice. Wherever you're willing to let me, Jeff answers, his voice soft, yet filled with determination. One step at a time. I'll be patient, Caitlyn. I'll wait as long as it takes. But please, don't leave. For a long moment, Caitlyn stands there, caught between the life she's known and the life that Jeff is offering her. A life filled with uncertainty, but also with the possibility of love and freedom. Finally, she steps forward, her eyes meeting his, and with a deep breath, she speaks. Okay, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. One step at a time. Jeff's face lights up with relief and hope as he steps closer, taking her hands in his. Thank you. I promise I won't let you down. As they stand there, the weight of everything they've been through still lingering between them, there's a new sense of possibility in the air. For the first time in what feels like forever, Caitlyn feels a glimmer of hope for the future and for what lies ahead with Jeff by her side. Act 11, a last-minute decision. Caitlyn stands frozen, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Her heart aches with the pull of Jeff's words, the sincerity in his eyes, the earnestness in his voice. But doubt clouds her thoughts. She's been burned before. She's seen how quickly the world of high society can turn on people, how easily dreams can shatter when trust is broken. The press, Isabelle, the royal expectations, they all seem so far removed from the life she's spent years building for herself, the life she's fought to hold on to. She steps back slightly, her hands trembling as she folds her arms across her chest, trying to shield herself from the raw vulnerability she feels. I want to believe you, she says quietly, her voice barely a whisper. I really do, but I don't know if I can risk my heart again, Jeff. I've worked so hard to get to where I am, and I've always had to do it on my own. I've always had to prove that I belong, that I'm worthy of my dreams, and now everything feels so complicated. Jeff watches her, his face full of empathy and understanding. He knows this moment isn't easy for her. He knows the walls she's built, the reasons behind them. He steps closer, but keeps a respectful distance, sensing her hesitation. "I'm not asking you to give up your dreams, Caitlyn," he says gently. "I'm not asking you to abandon everything you've worked for. I admire your ambition, your passion. You've worked so hard to get here, and I want to support you, no matter what. But I'm asking you to consider something else, that you don't have to do it all alone. You don't have to shut everyone out, especially not me." Caitlyn bites her lip, torn between the part of her that yearns to give in to the connection they've shared, the undeniable chemistry, and the voice of reason inside her that warns her not to trust too easily. She's always been independent, always relied on herself to navigate the chaos of the fashion world. But Jeff's presence, his kindness, his honesty, it's hard to ignore. "I'm scared," she admits, her voice trembling now. "Scared of getting hurt, scared of losing myself in someone else's world. I don't want to be swept away by something that's not real, something that will just fade when the pressure gets too much." Jeff nods, his expression softening as he steps closer, reaching out to gently take her hands in his. "I won't ask you to lose yourself, Caitlyn, and I won't let you be swept away by anyone else's agenda. You're the only person who can decide what's real for you, and I'm willing to wait, to prove that what we have is real." Caitlyn's heart beats faster, the raw honesty in his words, breaking down the barriers she's built around herself. She looks up at him, her eyes searching his face for any sign of doubt, any hint of insincerity, but all she sees is someone who genuinely cares for her, a man who, despite his royal title and the expectations that come with it, has shown her a side of him that few people ever see. She lets out a breath, her shoulders sagging slightly in defeat. I've never been good at letting people in, Jeff. It's always been easier to focus on my work, on my dreams. But now you're making me question everything." Jeff smiles softly, his thumb brushing across the back of her hand in a comforting gesture. "And that's okay. Take your time, Caitlyn. No rush. I'm not going anywhere, and I'll never push you into something you're not ready for. But know this, no matter what you choose, I'll be here." Caitlyn swallows hard, fighting back the tears that threaten to spill over. She's so scared of letting herself fall for him, of letting down her guard and trusting him completely. But in that moment, she realizes something profound. She doesn't have to choose between her dreams and her heart. She can have both if she's willing to take the leap. "I'm not sure I'm ready," she whispers, her voice fragile. "That's okay," Jeff says, his voice soft and patient. "You don't have to be, but I'll be here when you are." The silence stretches between them, filled with unspoken promises and uncharted territory. Caitlyn isn't sure what the future holds, but in Jeff's presence, she feels a glimmer of hope, a possibility that maybe she can have both the love and the success she's always dreamed of. It will take time. It will take trust. But for the first time, she feels like she doesn't have to choose. Caitlyn walks into the small apartment she shares with Haley, her mind still racing from the conversation with Jeff. The weight of her indecision presses on her chest, making every step feel heavier. She heads straight to the couch and collapses onto it, rubbing her temples, in an attempt to quell the brewing headache. She wants to trust Jeff, but the fear of losing herself, of falling into a world she can't control, still grips her tightly. Haley, who's been watching Caitlyn closely since she walked in, wastes no time. She sits down next to Caitlyn, her face full of concern, but also determination. She's seen her best friend struggle before, but this feels different. This is about Caitlyn's heart, her future, and Haley knows it's time for her to push Caitlyn towards something better. You've been holding on to this dream for so long, Kate. Haley begins softly, her voice steady and kind. And I've watched you work harder than anyone I know. But there's more to life than just career goals, you know? You deserve to experience real love, too. You deserve to be happy, to take a chance on something that makes your heart race. Caitlyn looks over at her, guilt and confusion swirling within her. I know you mean well, but I'm not sure I can handle both, Haley. I've spent so much of my life focused on making it in this industry, building my brand, that I've forgotten what it feels like to be in a relationship, to trust someone with my heart. Haley leans in closer, her expression softening. That's the thing, Kate. You don't have to choose between your career and your heart. Jeff, he's not just some prince who's going to sweep you off your feet and expect you to leave everything behind. He's someone who respects your independence, who sees your talent and wants to support it. But he also cares about you, Caitlyn, not just your work, and that's rare. Caitlyn shakes her head, the weight of Haley's words sinking in. But he's part of a world I don't know, a world I don't belong in. How do I fit into that world without losing myself? Haley places a reassuring hand on Caitlyn's. It's not about fitting in, Kate. It's about finding balance. You can still follow your dreams, still build your brand. But if you don't take a chance on love now, you might regret it. Not because of Jeff, but because you'll wonder what could have been. What if this is the one person who could make you feel truly happy, and you let fear keep you from giving it a shot? Caitlyn stares at her hands, the words hitting deeper than she expected. She's always played it safe, kept her heart guarded, focused on her future. But in doing so, she's built walls that now feel suffocating. Could she really risk it all for something so uncertain, yet so real? For a love she's not sure she's ready to trust. But what if I'm wrong? What if I lose myself in all of this? Caitlyn murmurs. Sometimes, Kate, you've got to trust that your heart knows the way, Haley says, her voice filled with quiet conviction. You've spent so much of your life in control, over your career, your designs, your future. Maybe it's time to let go of that control a little and let life surprise you. Trust that you won't lose yourself if you follow your heart. Caitlyn looks up at her best friend, her eyes filled with uncertainty. You really think so? Haley smiled, her eyes twinkling with warmth. I know so. You deserve to have it all, Kate. The success, the love, the happiness. But you won't find it unless you're willing to take that leap. It's your turn to be brave. Caitlyn takes a deep breath, the fear and doubt still lingering, but gradually becoming more manageable. For the first time, she allows herself to imagine a future where she doesn't have to choose between love and career, where she can have both. And maybe, just maybe, Jeff is a part of that future. With a shaky but determined smile, Caitlyn stands up and turns to Haley. You're right. I can't live my life in fear of what might happen. I've got to take a chance. On love, on myself, on my dreams. Haley grins, pulling her into a quick hug. That's the spirit. Now go get your prince, girl. Caitlyn laughs, her heart lighter than it's been in weeks. She knows the road ahead won't be easy, but for the first time in a long time, she feels ready to face it, both the challenges of the fashion world and the unpredictability of love. Act 12, New Year's Eve party. The grand estate of Isabelle is lit up like a fairy tale, with towering columns adorned in sparkling lights and the soft hum of classical music drifting from within. Caitlyn stands at the base of the sweeping staircase, taking in the grandeur of it all, her heart pounding in her chest. This is it, the night that could change everything. She's not just attending this party as a designer's assistant or a bystander in Isabelle's world. Tonight, she's stepping into the spotlight as the creator of her own masterpiece. Her gown, a breathtaking design that she crafted herself, clings to her figure in all the right ways, a perfect blend of elegance and daring. The bodice sparkles with intricate beadwork, and the flowing skirt catches the light as she moves, creating a soft shimmer around her. The dress is a bold statement, unlike anything the high society crowd at the party would expect from someone of her background. It's both sophisticated and unexpected, and Caitlyn wears it like a queen. As she enters the party, heads turn. Whispers follow her every step. The gown, so distinctly hers, catches the eye of Isabelle, who is already surrounded by admirers. Caitlyn's pulse quickens as she navigates through the crowd, her eyes scanning the room for Jeff. She's nervous not just about the impression her dress will make, but also about the emotions she's still trying to make sense of. She finally spots him, standing near the grand piano, looking every bit the prince he is, effortlessly charming those around him. His eyes meet hers across the room, and for a moment, everything else fades away. He's dressed in a sharp tuxedo, his dark hair perfectly styled, but it's the smile he gives her, full of admiration and something deeper, that makes her breath catch in her throat. Isabelle, noticing the attention Caitlyn is garnering, walks over to her, her smile tight but polite. "Caitlyn, darling, your dress is stunning," she says, her voice laced with a subtle challenge. "Though I must say, I'm surprised you've managed to outshine the rest of the guests tonight." Caitlyn smiles politely, but doesn't let Isabelle's words affect her. "Thank you, Isabelle. I'm glad you like it. It was a labor of love." Isabelle's eyes flicker with something akin to jealousy, but she quickly masks it with a gracious smile. "Well, I'm sure this will be the highlight of the evening. I hope you're enjoying yourself." Caitlyn nods, her eyes already searching for Jeff again. Isabelle notices and follows Caitlyn's gaze. "Ah, I see. Well, I'm sure Jeff will appreciate the attention you're getting. He does tend to favor those who stand out." There's a hint of something sharp in Isabelle's tone, but Caitlyn can't be bothered to engage. As if on cue, Jeff makes his way toward Caitlyn, his eyes lighting up when he sees her. "You look absolutely stunning," he says, his voice low and full of admiration. Caitlyn blushes, feeling a rush of warmth at his compliment. "Thank you, Jeff. You clean up pretty well yourself." She teases lightly, her nerves easing in his presence. He chuckles, the sound like music to her ears. "I think this is the first time I've ever seen anyone outshine Isabelle at one of her own events." Caitlyn's smile falters slightly as she remembers the tension between them. "Well, I'm not here to outshine anyone. Just trying to enjoy the night, I guess." Jeff's gaze softens, and he steps closer, lowering his voice. You should. You deserve to enjoy it, Caitlyn. You've worked so hard for this moment. As the evening continues, Caitlyn and Jeff share more quiet moments together, sneaking away from the hustle and bustle of the party to talk, laugh, and enjoy each other's company. The chemistry between them is undeniable, and the bond they've formed over the past few days only grows stronger. But Caitlyn still can't shake the feeling that her presence here is somehow a betrayal of her own independence, her own dreams. She wants more than just a fairy tale romance. She wants to build something of her own. Later in the evening, as the clock ticks down to midnight, the party begins to hum with excitement. Caitlyn stands near the balcony, watching the fireworks light up the night sky, lost in thought. She knows the future is uncertain, but standing here in this moment, in this dress, surrounded by the life she's always dreamed of, but never thought she'd truly belong to, she feels a quiet strength building inside her. Jeff appears at her side, slipping his hand gently into hers. Caitlyn, no matter what happens tonight, I just want you to know that I'm here, and I think you already know what I'm feeling. Caitlyn turns to him, her heart racing once again. What do you feel, Jeff? She asks softly, her voice a mix of hope and hesitation. Jeff meets her eyes, his gaze unwavering. I feel like I've found something real, something worth fighting for. And as the final countdown to midnight begins, Caitlyn knows she has a choice to make. Will she follow her heart and step into the life she's always dreamed of? Or will she play it safe and let fear dictate her future? The clock strikes midnight, and Jeff leans in, pressing his lips to hers in a kiss that promises a new beginning. As the midnight countdown finishes, the sounds of applause and cheers fill the air, but the spotlight on Caitlyn doesn't fade. All eyes are on her gown, the culmination of her hard work and talent. The whispers of admiration ripple through the crowd, and Caitlyn feels a mix of pride and disbelief. This moment is hers, and it feels like the world is finally recognizing her for the artist she truly is. The grandeur of the party seems to fade into the background as people stop in their tracks to admire the beauty of the dress. A well-known fashion journalist approaches, her eyes wide in appreciation. Who designed this? She asks, almost breathlessly. Before Caitlyn can respond, Isabelle, standing nearby with a glass of champagne in hand, steps forward. Her gaze is cool, but begrudgingly impressed as she speaks up. Caitlyn did, she says, with a practiced smile, her voice controlled despite the obvious tension. There's a moment of silence, and then the crowd erupts into murmurs of admiration. The journalist's interest peaks. This is absolutely stunning. You've captured a modern sophistication with a classic elegance. How did you come up with the design? Caitlyn, taken aback by the sudden attention, takes a deep breath. I wanted something that felt timeless, yet still fresh. Something that would make a statement, but still be comfortable and wearable. The compliment feels surreal, but Caitlyn stands tall, holding her ground as the guests around her nod in agreement. She exchanges a quick glance with Jeff, who is standing a few feet away. His eyes sparkle with pride, his admiration for her clear. Isabelle, who's been silently observing the scene, seems to take in the weight of the situation. Her usual confidence is tempered by a rare moment of hesitation. She steps closer to Caitlyn and offers a thin smile. more out of obligation than true admiration. "You've certainly made an impression, Caitlyn," she says, her tone still sharp, but with a hint of reluctant respect. "This gown is unexpected. You've managed to capture something I didn't expect." Caitlyn forces herself not to react too strongly, resisting the urge to throw her success in Isabelle's face. Instead, she simply nods. "Thank you, Isabelle. That means a lot." But even as Caitlyn feels the weight of Isabelle's words, she knows this is a turning point. Isabelle may not have entirely embraced Caitlyn's presence in the past, but tonight, Caitlyn has earned her place. The crowd continues to praise her design, and Caitlyn's heart soars. For the first time, she feels truly seen, not just as the assistant or the struggling designer, but as someone whose talent can stand on its own. Later, Jeff pulls Caitlyn aside, away from the lingering guests and the still echoing applause. His smile is warm, his eyes full of admiration. "You did it, Caitlyn. You proved them all wrong." Caitlyn laughs softly, the sound free of any tension. "I didn't do it for them, Jeff. I did it for me, for the dream that's been with me all along." Jeff's expression softens, and he steps closer, his voice quieter now. "And I'm glad you did. I'm proud of you." Caitlyn's heart skips a beat as she looks up at him, feeling a pull that she can no longer ignore. He's not just a prince or a future king. He's someone who sees her for who she truly is, without the layers of wealth, expectation, and obligation that she's been so used to seeing him through. For the first time, she allows herself to believe in a future where she can have both, her career and the chance for real love. Act 13. Love Confession. The atmosphere in the grand ballroom grows electric as the countdown to midnight begins. The air is filled with anticipation, the soft chime of the clock blending with the soft music playing in the background. Everyone is gathered, looking to ring in the new year with elegance, excitement, and champagne in hand. But for Caitlyn, tonight holds more than just the promise of a new year. It's the moment that will change everything. As the seconds tick away, Jeff steps forward, his usual calm demeanor replaced with an intensity that catches everyone's attention. His gaze locks onto Caitlyn's across the room, and without hesitation, he walks through the crowd toward her. The whispers that follow his movement are full of curiosity, but Jeff doesn't care about the onlookers. His focus is solely on Caitlyn. Caitlyn, who had been talking to a few of the guests, feels the sudden shift in energy and looks up. Their eyes meet, and for a moment, everything else fades away. He's here, and he's coming toward her. She feels her pulse quicken, unsure of what's happening, but unable to look away. The final moments of the countdown ring out, but Jeff doesn't wait for the last chime. As the room falls silent, he takes Caitlyn's hand in his voice steady but filled with emotion as he addresses the room. "I know tonight is meant to celebrate the new year, but I've been waiting for this moment for a long time." Jeff begins, his gaze never leaving Caitlyn's. "I've spent my life following a path that was set for me long before I even understood it. I've been bound by the expectations of others, of duty, of tradition. But none of that matters now. What matters is this." The crowd falls completely silent, all eyes on Jeff and Caitlyn. Caitlyn's heart races as she stands there, unsure of where this is going, yet feeling a strange warmth in her chest. She doesn't know if she's ready for what he's about to say, but but something inside her tells her that it's the truth. I found something I didn't know I needed until now. Jeff continues, his voice soft but powerful. Someone who makes me feel like myself. Someone who challenges me, who believes in me when I can't even believe in myself. Caitlyn, you've shown me that there's more to life than duty, that there's joy in being true to who we are, and I don't want to lose that. The room is so quiet now that the sound of the clock ticking can almost be heard. But Jeff presses on, his words growing more personal. I love you, Caitlyn. I love the way you see the world. I love your passion, your strength, and the way you've never asked for anything more than the chance to be who you are. Caitlyn's breath catches in her throat as the weight of his words sinks in. She feels her heart swell, but at the same time, a wave of uncertainty floods over her. He's a prince. Her world is so different from his. Can they really have a life together? The room waits, hanging on every word. As the clock nears its final seconds, Jeff steps closer, holding Caitlyn's gaze as he speaks directly to her now. I know the world expects me to follow a path I didn't choose, and I know we can't change everything overnight. But Caitlyn, I want to try. I want to be with you. I want to build a future where we can be free to choose our own happiness. The countdown reaches its final moments, but the room is so captivated by Jeff's words that it feels as if time itself is standing still. The seconds slip away, and when the clock strikes midnight, Jeff leans in, gently cupping Caitlyn's face in his hands. Without a second thought, he kisses her, a kiss full of promise, full of love, and full of a future that's finally theirs to create. The crowd erupts into applause, but all Caitlyn can focus on is the kiss and the love that has been declared in front of them all. For the first time, she believes in the possibility of a future where she can be both a successful designer and the woman loved by a prince. As they pull away, Caitlyn smiles, her heart racing. I love you too, Jeff, she whispers, feeling the weight of those words and knowing that with him by her side, she can face whatever comes next. The applause in the room is deafening, but in the midst of the celebration, Jeff's declaration hangs heavily in the air. As Caitlyn and Jeff pull away from their kiss, she sees the determination in his eyes, an unwavering resolve that makes her heart swell with hope. But she knows deep down that the true weight of his words isn't just in confessing his love for her. It's in the courage it takes to defy everything he's been taught, everything he's expected to do. The room begins to settle, and Caitlyn feels a mix of exhilaration and apprehension. The guests are still murmuring, the sound of champagne glasses clinking in the background. But Jeff steps back, turning to the crowd. His face, once composed and guarded, now reveals his true feelings. I know my duty as heir to the throne, and I've spent years living under the weight of it, Jeff says, his voice steady but filled with conviction. I've been told that my future is already written, that I must marry someone chosen for me, to maintain alliances and further the royal lineage. But tonight, I choose something different. I choose love. Isabelle, who had been standing with her back turned, now slowly faces him, her expression a mix of disbelief and anger. She had known this moment might come, but hearing him say it out loud is something entirely different. The realization that Jeff, the man she thought she would marry, is choosing Caitlyn over her hits her like a thunderbolt. I won't be forced into a loveless engagement for the sake of duty, Jeff continues, his gaze never leaving Caitlyn. I can't pretend anymore. I found the woman I want to be with, and that's who I will follow, no matter the consequences. The room is still, and then, as if on cue, the murmur of voices rises again. Only this time, it's filled with surprise and admiration. Caitlyn, overwhelmed by the boldness of Jeff's words, feels a rush of emotions. She knows that choosing love in this moment isn't just a personal decision for him. It's a public declaration that will alter the course of his future, and perhaps even the future of the kingdom. Isabelle, standing stiffly, finally breaks her silence, her voice sharp but controlled. You can't be serious, Jeff. This is not just about you. You are the future of Edgemoor, and your actions affect us all. A choice like this, it's reckless. Jeff's expression hardens, and for the first time, he stands tall, not as a prince, but as a man who has made his decision. I've spent my life doing what's expected of me, but I've learned that following my heart isn't reckless. It's the only thing that makes sense. He takes a deep breath, his eyes never leaving Caitlyn's. I will not marry for duty. I will marry for love. Caitlyn, still stunned, finds the courage to step forward, standing by his side. I never asked you to choose me, she says, her voice quiet but firm. But I believe in what we have, Jeff. I believe in us. The room falls into a tense silence as everyone absorbs what's happening. The weight of Jeff's words, the courage he's shown in rejecting a lifetime of tradition, sends ripples through the crowd. The royal family, who had been so intent on the marriage alliance with Isabelle, now finds themselves confronted with a new reality. And then, as if responding to the collective tension in the room, Caitlyn speaks again, her voice full of conviction. You have the right to choose your future, and so do I. We both deserve to live the life we choose, not the life others expect from us. Isabelle's face tightens, but she says nothing more. It's clear that she realizes she's lost this battle. The crowd watches in stunned silence, and even the royal advisors begin to murmur among themselves. Jeff turns back to Caitlyn, his hand finding hers once more. I've made my choice, he says, his voice filled with both love and defiance. And I choose you. In that moment, the weight of everything that had held them apart, royal duty, expectations, family obligations, seems to dissipate. Jeff and Caitlyn stand united, not just as a prince and a commoner, but as two people who have chosen to follow their hearts, no matter the cost. The crowd, still in shock, slowly begins to applaud, and Caitlyn feels a rush of relief. She's never been one to follow the rules, but in that moment, she realizes how powerful it is to be with someone who has the courage to rewrite his own. Isabelle, realizing the battle is over, gives them both one last glance before turning away, her pride clearly bruised. The rest of the guests, however, begin to cheer, the applause growing louder. Jeff and Caitlyn's choice to defy tradition and follow love is a bold statement, one that resonates with everyone in the room. As the evening continues, Caitlyn feels the weight of the world lift from her shoulders. For the first time, she knows she can have both, a career that fulfills her and a love that challenges her to be her best self. And with Jeff by her side, she feels ready to embrace whatever the future holds, knowing they will face it together. Act 14, a new beginning. As the tension in the room begins to settle, Isabelle stands frozen for a moment, her emotions shifting beneath the calm exterior she's always maintained. The applause for Jeff and Caitlyn's public declaration of love rings in her ears, but her thoughts are elsewhere, reaching into the past, trying to piece together the truth she's been avoiding. Isabelle's gaze flickers to Jeff, who stands resolutely beside Caitlyn, their hands intertwined, their love undeniable. She has always known the weight of the crown and the expectations placed upon them. Her relationship with Jeff was never truly about love. It was about duty, about power, about securing the future of the kingdom. She had convinced herself that marrying Jeff would be a responsibility she could bear. But deep down, she'd never truly felt the love she'd tried to force. In that quiet moment, Isabelle finally admits the truth to herself. She never truly loved Jeff. She'd admired his status, his position, the security he represented, but the love she thought she had for him was nothing more than a mirage, a product of the royal world she was trapped in. What she felt was not love, but the desire to control and mold the future. With a deep breath, Isabelle steadies herself. She turns to face the crowd and, with graceful composure, steps forward. Her voice is calm, her words measured, but there's a hint of sadness behind her elegant facade. "Jeff, Caitlyn," she says, her tone soft but filled with sincerity. "I have always known my role in this world. I've known the importance of alliances, the responsibility of being a royal, and what is expected of me. But tonight, as I stand here, I realize something I should have known all along." She pauses, meeting both their gazes. "I never loved you, Jeff. Not in the way you deserve, and I never could." There's a collective hush in the room, and Caitlyn feels a pang of sympathy for Isabelle. Her words are surprising, but they are also a gift, one that allows both her and Jeff to move forward without the burden of obligation hanging over them. Isabelle's eyes soften as she continues, her voice quieter now. "I was blinded by duty, by what I thought was expected of me. But I see now that true love isn't something that can be forced. It's something you find when you least expect it. You both have that, and I see it now." She gives Caitlyn a small, respectful nod before turning back to Jeff. "I step aside, not out of bitterness, but out of respect for what you found together." The crowd watches, stunned at her grace, and even those closest to the royal family seem to breathe a collective sigh of relief. It's a moment of vulnerability that none of them had expected from Isabelle, the poised socialite who had always carried herself with a cool detachment, now acknowledging the truth. Jeff watches Isabelle for a long moment, a mix of relief and gratitude washing over him. "Thank you," he says quietly, the weight of the decision to call off their engagement now lifting from his shoulders. "For understanding, and for letting me go." Isabelle nods, her lips curving into a bittersweet smile. "I wish you both nothing but happiness. It's time for me to live my own life as well." She turns to leave the room, her back straight, but there's a softness in her steps now, a quiet acceptance that she is no longer bound by expectations she never truly wanted to fulfill. As Isabelle disappears into the crowd, Caitlyn feels a quiet sense of closure. She never imagined things would end this way, but somehow she understands that Isabelle's decision is just as much about her own freedom as it is about theirs. It's a painful but necessary step for both of them. With the tension dissolved and the future suddenly clear, Jeff turns back to Caitlyn, his hand still gently holding hers. "It's over," he whispers, his voice filled with both relief and anticipation for the new chapter ahead. Caitlyn nods, the weight of the moment still sinking in. She doesn't know what lies ahead, what challenges they might face, what sacrifices will come. But in this moment, she knows they'll face it together. And for the first time, it feels like the beginning of something real, something that isn't shaped by duty or expectation, but by love. As the final moments of the evening unfold, Caitlyn and Jeff share a quiet, private moment away from the crowd. There, on the balcony, with the New Year's Eve fireworks lighting up the night sky, they embrace. There's no grand declaration or speeches. It's just the two of them, a shared understanding between them. The future might still hold challenges, but together, they're ready to face them. In the days following the New Year's Eve gala, Caitlyn's life takes a dramatic turn. The stunning gown she designed for Isabelle's party, now a symbol of her true skill and passion, quickly becomes the talk of the fashion world. Fashion bloggers, influencers, and critics alike rave about the design, praising her creativity, craftsmanship, and unique perspective. It's clear to everyone that Caitlyn is not just another aspiring designer. She is the next big thing in the industry. Caitlyn begins receiving calls from top fashion moguls and renowned brands, eager to work with her. Her phone is constantly buzzing, filled with offers for collaborations, interviews, and opportunities to showcase her work at major fashion events. She's overwhelmed by the flood of attention, but also exhilarated by the recognition she's worked so hard to earn. It feels like a dream, one that's finally coming true. Despite her success, Caitlyn remains grounded. She knows she has Jeff's unwavering support, and his encouragement fuels her confidence. He's there every step of the way, offering advice when needed, and sharing in her joy as her career skyrockets. It's a partnership built on mutual respect and admiration. And for the first time, Caitlyn feels she is in control of her own destiny. Her best friend, Haley, can't contain her excitement. "I told you you had it in you," she exclaims, practically bouncing off the walls when she hears about Caitlyn's latest offers. "This is just the beginning, Kate. You're going to take the fashion world by storm." As Caitlyn attends her first big industry event, an exclusive fashion showcase held in the heart of New York City, she can't help but reflect on how far she's come. From the small boutique where she worked tirelessly on her designs, to now standing among the most influential people in the fashion world, she feels a surge of pride. It's not just the success she's worked for, but the fact that she's done it on her own terms, staying true to herself and her craft. At the event, top designers, moguls, and media moguls shower her with praise. One particularly influential figure, a legendary designer known for her avant-garde designs, approaches Caitlyn, her eyes sparkling with interest. "Your work is exceptional," she says with a smile. "I'd love to collaborate with you on a collection. What do you think?" Caitlyn's heart races as she takes in the opportunity. A collaboration with one of the most respected figures in the fashion world could propel her career even further, and it feels like everything she's worked for is finally coming to fruition. Later that night, as she and Jeff celebrate over dinner, Caitlyn feels the weight of her success, but it's balanced by the support of the people who truly matter. Jeff's unwavering belief in her has been a constant source of strength, and she knows that no matter where her career takes her, they'll face the journey together. "I never imagined any of this would happen," Caitlyn admits, looking at Jeff with gratitude. I've always dreamed of having a successful career, but now it feels real. I just want to keep creating, keep pushing myself. Jeff smiles, his eyes full of admiration. I have no doubt that you'll keep doing incredible things. You've got the talent, the drive, and the heart. The world is yours, Caitlyn. As the night continues, Caitlyn knows that her future is wide open. She has opportunities beyond what she ever imagined. But more than that, she has the freedom to choose her path and the love of a man who believes in her every step of the way. Together, they look ahead to a future filled with possibilities. It's not just about the fame or success. It's about following her passion, embracing her true self, and creating the life she's always dreamed of. The world may be full of challenges, but with Jeff by her side, Caitlyn feels ready to face whatever comes next. Act 15, The Midnight Kiss. As the clock strikes midnight, the grand ballroom of Isabelle's estate erupts in cheers and applause. The sparkling lights, the music, and the laughter fill the air with an electric energy that sweeps through the guests. But amidst the celebration, it's the two of them, Caitlyn and Jeff, that hold the center of the moment. The fireworks outside begin to light up the dark sky, bursting into brilliant colors above the palace grounds. Their radiant glow reflects off the shimmering decorations in the ballroom, casting everything in a dreamlike glow. Jeff and Caitlyn, standing together on the balcony overlooking the festivities, are surrounded by the joyful clamor of the guests below. Yet, in that instant, it feels as if time has slowed down. Caitlyn, her heart racing, feels a mix of emotions. The journey she's been on, the challenges, the doubts, the heartache, is behind her now. She's in the arms of the man she never expected to fall for, a man who has stood by her through it all. Their connection is undeniable, and it feels like the perfect culmination of everything they've shared. Jeff looks at her, his eyes full of love and adoration. "Caitlyn," he says softly, his voice almost drowned out by the cheers of the crowd. "I've never felt more alive than I do right now, with you. You've shown me a world I never thought I could have." Tears well in Caitlyn's eyes as she holds his gaze. "I never thought I'd find this kind of happiness. I didn't think love could be this real." With the fireworks soaring above them, Jeff leans in, gently brushing his lips against hers. The kiss is soft at first, a tender meeting of hearts. But as the fireworks explode in a symphony of color and light, the kiss deepens, filled with all the emotions they've kept hidden for so long. Around them, the guests cheer, but for Caitlyn and Jeff, it's as if they are the only two people in the world. The kiss is everything, an affirmation of their love, their future, and the freedom they found in each other. It's the moment where all the struggles fade away, and they know that together they can face whatever the future holds. As they pull away, both breathless, the crowd's applause seems to fade into the background. It's just them, standing in the glow of the fireworks, their hearts beating in unison. Caitlyn smiles up at Jeff, her face radiant with happiness. "Happy New Year," she whispers, her voice full of joy. "Happy New Year, Caitlyn," Jeff replies, his eyes sparkling with a mixture of love and hope. This is only the beginning for us. And as the fireworks continue to light up the night sky, Jeff and Caitlyn share another kiss, this one filled with the promise of a future together, one that is no longer dictated by duty, but by their shared love and dreams. The night is theirs, and with it, the promise of a lifetime of happiness ahead. closing scene, the happy ending. A few months after that magical New Year's Eve kiss, Caitlyn's life takes yet another exciting turn. With her newfound recognition in the fashion world, Caitlyn decides it's time to take a leap of faith and launch her own fashion line. For so long, she had dreamed of this moment, but now it feels more real than ever. Thanks to the immense support she's received from Jeff, her career, and her confidence, the idea no longer seems like a distant fantasy. It's a tangible reality. Jeff, having witnessed Caitlyn's tireless work ethic and creative brilliance, is her biggest supporter. He is there every step of the way, offering encouragement, brainstorming ideas, and helping her navigate the world of high-profile business deals. His royal status opens doors that Caitlyn could have only dreamed of. But what means the most to her is the unwavering belief he has in her talent, in her vision, and in her dreams. The day of the launch is filled with excitement and nerves. Caitlyn's fashion line, bold, innovative, and distinctly her own, has garnered attention from all corners of the industry. She's designed everything herself, from elegant evening gowns to chic daywear, each piece reflecting her personal touch and passion for creativity. The show is set in a luxurious venue in the heart of New York City, and the guest list includes fashion icons, industry leaders, and even some of Caitlyn's childhood heroes. As Caitlyn prepares backstage, she can't help but feel a wave of nerves. But when she glances up and sees Jeff waiting for her just outside the door, the anxiousness melts away. He's dressed impeccably, as always, but his supportive smile is what calms her more than anything. "You've got this," Jeff says, squeezing her hand. "I'm proud of you, Caitlyn. You've already done so much. Now go out there and show the world your brilliance." Caitlyn smiles, grateful for his unwavering support. "I couldn't have done this without you." With a final deep breath, Caitlyn steps out onto the runway, her heart pounding in her chest. The crowd is buzzing, the anticipation palpable. As the first model steps onto the runway, wearing one of Caitlyn's signature gowns, the audience falls into a stunned silence. The fabric catches the light perfectly, the design sleek yet bold, modern yet timeless. One by one, the models parade Caitlyn's creations down the runway. The designs are met with gasps of admiration, and Caitlyn can't help but feel her heart swell with pride. This is her moment, the culmination of years of hard work, sleepless nights, and sacrifices. It's more than just a fashion show. It's a testament to her dedication, her resilience, and her ability to push past every obstacle life has thrown her way. Jeff watches from the front row, his eyes filled with pride as he claps along with the rest of the audience. He's always known Caitlyn's potential, but seeing her shine in front of so many people fills him with awe. She's not just his girlfriend or the woman he loves. She's an unstoppable force in the fashion world, and he couldn't be prouder. As the final model steps off the runway, Caitlyn takes a moment to breathe. The applause is deafening, and she feels a rush of gratitude. She walks down the runway herself, with confidence and grace, accepting the standing ovation from the crowd. The moment feels surreal, a dream realized. Backstage, Caitlyn is surrounded by congratulatory messages from fellow designers, industry influencers, and top fashion critics. Caitlyn, overwhelmed by the support and praise, looks for Jeff. When she finds him, he's waiting for her with open arms, ready to celebrate this milestone together. "You were incredible," Jeff says, pulling her into a tight embrace. Caitlyn laughs, a little breathless from the adrenaline. I couldn't have done it without you. You were there for me every step of the way. Jeff smiles, his expression full of love and admiration. And I always will be. You're going to change the fashion world, Caitlyn. With the support of Jeff and her hard-earned success, Caitlyn knows that this is only the beginning. Her dreams are no longer just dreams, they're her reality. And as she looks ahead to the future, she knows that she has everything she needs to keep pursuing her passion, her career, and the love that has transformed her life. In the months following the launch of Caitlyn's fashion line, Jeff finds himself at a crossroads. While he is overjoyed by Caitlyn's success and deeply in love with her, the weight of his royal duties never fully fades. The pressures and expectations of his position as heir to the throne of Edgemoor still loom large over his every decision. However, something has changed. He no longer sees his duty as a burden. Instead, Jeff is determined to modernize the monarchy, ensuring that love, personal freedom, and duty can coexist in a way that benefits both himself and his people. Jeff begins taking steps toward change, using his position not just for tradition, but for progress. He wants to be a prince who listens to his people, who understands the complexities of modern life, and who doesn't let his royal status dictate his personal happiness. This is a significant departure from the rigid expectations that have been placed upon him for years. He starts by consulting with advisors who are more progressive, those who believe in evolving the royal role to better align with the times. He holds town halls, speaking directly with the people of Edgemoor, and listens to their concerns and ideas. His new approach is met with mixed reactions. Some royalists are resistant to change, while younger generations of citizens welcome his willingness to adapt. But through it all, Caitlyn remains his constant support. She encourages Jeff to stay true to himself and follow his heart, especially when he faces resistance from his advisors and family. Caitlyn's belief in him strengthens his resolve. He knows that, like her, he has the ability to create something new, a path where he can be both a prince and a man who follows his own desires, free of the constraints of royal duty. One pivotal moment comes when Jeff publicly declares that he will be taking a more active role in Edgemoor's social reforms. He advocates for modern policies on education, business, and technology, hoping to push the kingdom into the future. His speech is well received by the people, but criticized by those in the royal court who fear losing their traditional influence. Jeff remains undeterred, and his commitment to change becomes a defining part of his identity. In addition to these public reforms, Jeff takes personal steps to prove that love and duty can go hand in hand. He redefines the role of the monarchy by openly supporting Caitlyn's career. He attends her fashion shows, not as a distant, aloof figure, but as her biggest cheerleader, proudly standing by her side. He uses his royal connections to secure business partnerships for Caitlyn's brand, advocating for new opportunities in fashion that reflect modern, inclusive ideals. During one of the kingdom's grand celebrations, Jeff gives a heartfelt speech about love, duty, and the importance of forging one's own path. He acknowledges the kingdom's history, but calls for a new chapter, one that includes personal freedom, happiness, and the courage to change. The speech moves not only the people of Edgemoor, but also his royal family, we begin to see his vision for a more balanced and progressive monarchy. As Jeff continues to modernize his role, his relationship with Caitlyn blossoms. She, too, becomes an integral part of his vision. She isn't just his partner, she is his equal. Their collaboration is a testament to how love and duty can coexist without compromise. Together, they break the mold of what a royal couple should be, showing that true leadership comes from authenticity, passion, and the willingness to embrace change. One afternoon, while they walk through the palace gardens, Jeff turns to Caitlyn and smiles. "You've taught me more about love, freedom, and authenticity than anyone ever could. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, creating a future we're both proud of. Not just for us, but for the people of Edgemoor." Caitlyn smiles back, her heart full. "And I'll be right there with you, every step of the way." Together, they embark on a new chapter, not only for their love story, but for the kingdom they are helping shape. Jeff's commitment to modernizing the monarchy becomes a defining legacy, one that shows the world that love and duty don't have to be opposing forces. They can work together to create something beautiful. As the evening draws to a close, the palace ballroom is bathed in a soft, golden light. The sounds of laughter and conversation swirl around them. But in this moment, Caitlyn and Jeff are in their own world. The grand New Year's celebration is in full swing, yet the only thing that matters is the connection between them. The love that has blossomed despite all the obstacles they've faced. The music shifts to a slow, romantic waltz. Jeff offers Caitlyn his hand with a smile, and without hesitation, she places hers in his. As they glide across the floor, the world around them fades away. The worries, the pressures, the expectations, they no longer hold any weight. All that matters is the bond they've forged, built on trust, understanding, and a shared desire to build a future that's truly their own. They move in perfect harmony, their steps in sync with the rhythm of the music. Caitlyn looks up at Jeff, her heart full. For the first time in a long time, she feels as though she's exactly where she's supposed to be. Jeff's eyes, full of warmth and tenderness, meet hers, and for a fleeting moment, the whole world seems to pause. "We've come a long way," Caitlyn murmurs, a hint of awe in her voice. "We have," Jeff agrees, his tone soft but certain. "And we're just getting started." They continue to dance, their laughter mingling with the music, their hearts aligned in a rhythm all their own. No longer bound by the constraints of their past lives, they've found a new way forward, a way where love, ambition, and duty can coexist, not as separate paths, but as one shared journey. As the clock strikes midnight, the room erupts in applause, but for Caitlyn and Jeff, time slows. In this moment, they know that they have everything they need to create the life they've always dreamed of, together. With the fireworks lighting up the sky outside, they share a quiet kiss, surrounded by their friends, family, and the kingdom they're both shaping. Their future is theirs to write, and as they pull back slightly, their eyes locked with an unspoken promise. They know that this is only the beginning. The camera pulls back to show them continuing to dance, their joy and love evident for all to see. The music swells, and as they spin gracefully across the floor, the screen fades to black, leaving the audience with a sense of hope, excitement, and the belief that love truly can conquer all.
The Stories book is a captivating collection of tales that traverse diverse genres and emotions, spanning the realms of fantasy, science fiction, romance, and mystery. Each narrative is a journey into the unexpected, weaving intricate plots and compelling characters. With a skillful blend of vivid imagery and thought-provoking themes, this anthology invites readers to explore the depths of imagination and discover the universal threads that connect us all. From heartwarming moments to spine. We hope you enjoyed these captivating video stories. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming content like this. Thanks for watching, and keep spreading the video story.